students to add on civil union partners and spouses, as well as eligible children. There is an additional fee, and there's more information about that on our website. But for most of our students, the open enrollment period is about waiving out of campus care. This is the only time you can waive out of campus care is when we're in an open enrollment period. The deadline date for fall is September 12th. The deadline date for fall is always September 12th. We keep it September 12th to make that easy to remember each academic year. Waivers are good for one academic year, fall, spring, and summer in that order. No matter which term you submit your waiver, if you submitted it for spring semester or you submitted it for summer semester, it's still going to expire at the end of summer, and you need to resubmit that waiver on our website by September 12th. It's a hard and fast deadline date. No matter how much anyone in our office wants to help you after the deadline date, if you have not waived, it's out of our hands and we cannot waive you out of the program. Don't worry about waiving out and then needing to obtain coverage later on, either in the term or the next following semesters. Students can reinstate at any time for any reason. You just go to our website and submit a reinstatement request, and we'll get you back into the campus care program. The way that you waive is you go to our website, campuscare.uic.edu. Underneath the picture of a skyline, you'll see a link that says waivers. Once you click that, you'll sign in with your net ID and password for the university. And then you will see a red button that says request waiver for fall 2025. Once you click that, you'll see a form field. We need 4 pieces of information. We need your health insurance company's name. We need your ID number, group number if it applies, and customer service phone number. We do not need a copy of your insurance card. So if you don't have your insurance card handy, call your insurance company and get those pieces of information for us and submit that form online. Once you submit the form, when you click submit, 2 things are going to happen. One is that a tracking number will show up on your screen. And the second is that you will immediately get an email to your UIC email address that has that tracking number. If you don't see that email, then the waiver wasn't submitted correctly. Usually the main reason that waivers don't get submitted correctly is because you left the group number blank. If you don't have a group number, put none or NA, or the phone number is formatted incorrectly. Go back in, resubmit that waiver, make sure you get that tracking number. That's your proof that you submitted it. Within 3 to 5 business days, we'll send an email back to you, usually much sooner, usually within that day or the very next day, letting you know if we approved or denied your waiver. We only deny waivers if there's a reason. The number one reason is because we get the wrong phone number. We'll often get primary care physician phone numbers or personal cell phone numbers. We need your health insurance company's number so we can call and verify your coverage. If we deny your waiver, we'll tell you why in the email, and you do have the opportunity of resubmitting that form as long as you do it by the deadline date. This is the only way to waive campus care. There's no faxing, there's no paper forms. Please don't email me your health insurance information, and we do not accept it from any other department. If any other department on this campus tells you that you showed them your insurance and that counts as a campus care waiver, they are misinformed. That is incorrect. If you haven't filled out this waiver and gotten an approval from us, then you haven't waived campus care. Okay. We are a semester-based program. Coverage began over the weekend on August 16th for fall semester, and it goes through December 31st. Spring semester starts again on January 1st and goes into mid-May. Summer semester starts the day after and goes through August 15th. We have no gaps in our coverage. We do allow students who have spring coverage to sign up for summer coverage, even if you're not taking classes. So if you are taking a break in the summer, you can still have campus care health insurance. You would just need to submit a form telling us that you want us to charge you for the summer, and we will send out emails about that coming up in the spring, letting you know how to do that. Again, you can add spouse and children onto your plan. There is an additional fee for that. And then the deadline date is September 12th. We're a small office. There are only 3 of us who work at Campus Care. So if you call, you're going to get our voicemail. We are remote employees, but we are checking that voicemail constantly throughout the day, and we'll call you back as soon as possible. But you can also email us at cchealth@uic.edu. And then, boy, do we have time for questions?
We do.
Okay. I did see a question come up in the chat asking if you would be able to waive for fall and sign up for spring. And the answer to that is absolutely. We allow students to reinstate anytime as long as you're registered for courses at the university.
I think there was a question about having already paid for fall and wondering if they can still submit a waiver and get their money back.
Absolutely. You have until September 12th. If you waive out of campus care, we will put a negative 697 credit onto your tuition account.
And I think one question that comes up a couple of times in the chat is, can folks get a copy of your slides?
Absolutely. You can get a copy of my slides. I can send that to you, Boyd. You can also go to our website. From our homepage, we have a link for orientation information, and I have a couple of pre-recorded orientations with slides there. I have one on being enrolled in campus care and how to use it, and I have another one going over the instructions for waiving.
Just a couple more questions. Someone has a question about using campus care internationally in the case of an emergency, in case they're doing field work, or
Mhm.
whether it's only good in the US.
It's only go to the US. And the only out-of-network coverage that we cover is urgent care in the event of an urgent issue and emergency room coverage. I saw someone ask if they can continue seeing their regular provider. The answer to that is yes, as long as your regular provider was a UI Health Family Medicine provider. Anyone outside of UI Health Family Medicine would not be covered by us.
Well, thank you so much,
You're
Angela.
welcome.
If folks have more questions for you, excuse me, the email address is up here on the screen right now, or you can call
Mhm.
Campus Care and leave a message, and someone will get back to you.
Yes, and I'll also be at the resource fair this afternoon if you have questions you want to ask. Have a
Fantastic.
great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. Just real quick before our next guest, let's see. Here we are. All right. Next up, we have two representatives from the UIC library. And although I use library singular when I talk about it, the library does have many different locations across the state of Illinois, actually. So from the UIC library, we have Annie Armstrong, who is a professor and coordinator of teaching and learning services in the Daily Library, which is here on East Campus, where the Graduate College is also located. And we also have Rosie Haneke, who is an associate professor and the head of information services and research in the UIC Health Sciences Library on West Campus. And I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Annie and Rosie. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, and thanks for having us here. So I'm just going to open up my slideshow, and then we'll share with you the many ways that the library is excited to work with graduate students. So just one moment, please. Okay. Oops. Share. Okay. Okay, how does that look? Is everyone seeing the first slide? Okay. Good morning. My name is Annie Armstrong. I use she, her pronouns. And as Boyd said, I am a librarian and a professor at the Daily Library over on the East Campus. And I'm here with my colleague, Rosie Haneke. And she'll introduce herself when she gets to her part. So I wanted to start by sharing with you how the library works with students. So one of the primary ways in which we collaborate with you is as liaisons. And that's not an easy word to say, and you may not be familiar with it. So I just want to start by explaining what that is and what it means to you as a graduate student pursuing your research. So we are your helpers and your collaborators. We are your allies in anything library or research related. So we're here to streamline the process of navigating the library, making sure that you can do things efficiently and effectively, and really engage in productive and rewarding research in your own discipline. So we have a specific librarian or liaison. You can call us your subject librarian if that's easier to say, or your liaison assigned to every discipline. So one of the first things you can do as a graduate student is figure out who that person is and make contact with them. And we'll show you how to figure that out through the UIC library website. So as I mentioned, we can help you navigate research in your discipline. So we have hundreds of subject-specific library databases for conducting research. We also have tools for managing your citations. So RefWorks, Zotero. Zotero is actually a free tool, but we can work with you to use it in your research. So you'll be doing a lot of research, and those are tools that help you manage the process and do it more effectively and productively. We can work with you to develop search strategies, whether it's for a small project or something much larger and long-term. And we can pretty much just be your point person to helping you navigate library tools and figure out what we have to support whatever projects you're working on. So one of the ways that you can begin to familiarize yourself with what we have related to your personal research is by exploring the UIC library website. So you can just Google UIC library. You can link to the library from the main UIC page as well. And from that page, you'll see a link in the middle of the website that just says guides. And this is just a snapshot of one of those guides and what it would tell you. It would tell you who your librarian is, what their email is, put a face with the name, so to speak. And then it would also show you sort of what are the primary databases related to that discipline, what are the logical tools that you should start to use to do comprehensive research in that subject area. So that's a good way to get started on your own with identifying library tools. Because as I mentioned, we have hundreds of databases across the disciplines. Beyond that, specific e-journals, and Rosie's going to get into all of that a little bit more and how to start exploring the website. If you go on the library website, a key link to look for is just contact us. From there, you'll see an option to schedule research help. And that could be an appointment either in the physical library at LHS, Library of the Health Sciences, or the Daily Library. Honestly, most people prefer Zoom, and that works really well for working on research with a librarian, just because we can swap screens or share screens and show you how to navigate the library pretty effectively from everywhere. So that tends to be the most popular way to meet with a librarian. But if you schedule research help, you'll just fill out a form, provide us with a few times that work with your schedule and how you'd like to meet. And then someone will get back to you with an appointment and a Zoom link if you chose Zoom. And that's a really good way to just discuss your research needs or get an overview of the library or work on a specific research project. So I can't recommend that highly enough. On that contact us page, there are some other helpful links. So there is at the lower right, you'll also see the library directory. You could use that to look up your library liaison in addition to exploring those subject guides that I mentioned. And I just wanted to explain some of the key things that you can do also from off campus or on campus, from anywhere really, it should say. You can access full text journal articles, ebooks, databases, the research guides that I mentioned that are just labeled guides. You can meet with a librarian. So I'm just reiterating that. And we also have email and chat support. So you don't have to actually work with that specific liaison every time you have a question. So maybe you're online and you're doing research and something isn't working properly. Just look at the corner of the library page. It's on every page of the library website, and look for the chat option. That's actually a real person that can assist you with whatever you need. So they can help you find a specific item or troubleshoot any problems that you're having. So that's a good way to get help without waiting for your liaison to get back to you by email. So it's just an extra way to get help. So I'm going to turn it over to Rosie, and she's going to talk more about really delving into library resources.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Rosie Haneke. I work at the Library of the Health Sciences on the west side of campus. We're on Polk Street at the corner of Polk and Wood. We're sort of catty corner from the Pink Line stop on Polk Street. So let's see, I've been at UIC for 11 years now. I'm the head of the Information Services Department, which is, we are the subject or liaison librarians for the west side of campus. So medicine, nursing, dentistry, pharmacy, applied health, public health. I usually forget one. I don't remember how many that was. But so we do hope you can come and visit us in person, either at the Daily Library or one of the Library of the Health Science locations. But for many of you, your primary mode of interacting with the library is going to be our website. So we wanted to give you sort of a virtual tour of our website and the main functions that we'd like you to know about here to make it easier. So to get to our website, you can always type in library.uic.edu, or you can just put UIC Library into your search bar and it will bring you right to this page here. This is our library homepage. Down at the bottom, that lower circle is our main library search, which you can use to search for articles, books, any general resources that you're looking for. This will search almost all of the library's collections. It's good for a general broad search if you're just looking for something quickly. Right above that is that blue menu bar. So we've got a few things there. On the left is databases. As my colleague said, we have literally hundreds of specialized databases through the library. Many times at the graduate level, you'll know which database you want to use. You may know that you're going to use PsycInfo or ERIC or Web of Science. So if you know the name of the database you want, just click on that databases list and you'll find an alphabetical list of every database that we subscribe to. Next to that is journals. That link will be used if you are looking for one specific journal and you know the name of it. So if you know that you want to browse New England Journal of Medicine, you can click on journals, type it in, and find that journal. Guides, this is what Annie was talking about when she mentioned the subject guides that are lists of recommended resources from your subject librarian. So if you click there, you'll see a guide in every subject and some subdisciplines with databases or books or other resources, virtual anatomy models, all kinds of things, depending on your discipline. There are also general or interdisciplinary research guides for general topics, such as how do I do a literature review? How do I write a poster? How do I find out which publishers have agreements with UIC that will waive the open access fees to publish my article? How do I cite in APA format? How do I use RefWorks? All those kinds of topics. If you can think of it, we probably have a guide for it. Next is the link for PubMed. If you're in the health sciences, you probably already know PubMed. If not, you will be getting very familiar with it soon. PubMed is a free online database of close to 40 million references in the health sciences and life sciences. Now, it's a free government website, but we want you to get in the habit of using this link that's on the library website. Because this is a custom web address that will link you to all of our journal subscriptions that we get through UIC. So as long as you're affiliated here, you'll have more access to more full text than you would if you just went to the regular instance of PubMed. That applies for any database that you'll find in our database list there. Next to that is browsing, which I would encourage you to check out. This will allow you to subscribe to individual journals. It's a good idea when you're entering graduate study to stay up to date on the field. What are the latest developments coming out of journals in my discipline? Browsing will allow you to subscribe to journals, put them on your bookshelf, and it will send you an alert anytime there's a new issue. It's got a really aesthetically pleasing, user-friendly interface that you can use to, catch up on your journals when you're on the train going home. That's usually when I do it. And then next is the catalog. That would be, for example, if there's a particular book that you are looking for and you want to search for it by title. You can use the catalog. Next slide. Thank you. I did want to say a couple things about finding full text of articles because this is obviously a major need for students, and we want to make sure you're doing this as efficiently as possible. You're busy people. We don't want you wasting time searching around trying to find a PDF. So what are the general rules for finding full text of usually articles is what we're talking about. Sometimes book chapters or other things, dissertations, but typically we're talking about scholarly journal articles. The best rule of thumb is to use the library homepage as your home base. So I have it bookmarked in my browser, and anytime you're looking for an article, go to the library homepage. You can just paste an article title in that main search box that we saw. Or you can use an individual database and then follow the Find It at UIC button. And we have a couple screenshots to show you what that will look like. When you're looking for an individual article, you'll be taken to a page like this. The article title and citation information will be at the top. And then underneath that, if we have access to this article online, you'll see a link that says available online. And then farther down the page is a link to the full text. So in this case, we get this article from
Rosie may have frozen. Hi, Boyd.
It looks like Rosie dropped off the meeting. Annie, I don't
Okay,
know if you
I
want to
could keep
continue.
going for this part.
Sure.
I think she was about to say Springer Link. We get this article through Springer Link, so you would just click where it says Springer Link Journals. That would take you to the publisher site where you could download the full text. And it's not in a red circle, but at the very bottom of this slide, we'll elaborate on this a little bit more. There's also a request via interlibrary loan link. That's there on every Find It at UIC page to allow you to request an article through interlibrary loan, which we also refer to as Iliad. So next, we were going to talk about how to bookmark Google Scholar. So from that databases list, which we showed you from the primary UIC homepage, obviously Google Scholar is a tremendously popular database for exploring research in any discipline. But what we would like to encourage you to do is always connect to Google Scholar, just like you would do with PubMed or other databases, through the UIC library webpage, or if you like, you can just bookmark the link or save the link and use the link from the UIC library databases page. And that's because, again, it's customized. And so that when you find an article, it will connect to that Find It at UIC option so that you don't have to basically pay for anything that we actually have a subscription to. So that's a key step, is to make sure that you're using UIC's version of Google Scholar or pretty much any database. And this is just how the results would look. Once you're in Google Scholar, look for that Get Full Text link, and then it gives you all the standard options. So it will connect to the publisher's full text if we have it. If not, it will connect you to the option to request an article via interlibrary loan, or ILLiad. And I should say that ILLiad is a free service for students, so you won't be charged for anything. What happens is you request the article, we get it to you from a different library, we email you when it's available, and share a PDF with you that you can then go in and download. So it's very streamlined. It's easy to do. We encourage you to do that to fill in any of the gaps of our own subscriptions. So this is an additional example of finding full text, this time from PubMed. So you should notice a pattern by now. You'll find the abstract and then look for any options to connect to full text. So I would always opt for the one that's labeled Find It at UIC, and that gives you the most options, as well as the interlibrary loan option when the full text is not available. And I mentioned this before, but sometimes things go awry and maybe you're not able to download something that we should have access to. That's a great example of when I would just go onto the chat with a librarian service and ask if someone can look into the problem. Okay. Oops. So this is actually what happens when you connect to our interlibrary loan service. So let me go back one. If
I'm back. I'm so sorry.
I filled in the gaps, but you're welcome to resume. I led us through Google Scholar and the Springer link, but now we're at interlibrary loan if you want to pick up.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so sorry, everyone. You know that feeling when you're talking to 500 people and then your internet crashes? Um, Not great. Yes, so I did see earlier a question in the chat about interlibrary loan. Absolutely. We have interlibrary loan. It's one of the greatest resources that's available to you at the library. And this is what you'll use anytime you want an item, article, book, or otherwise, that we don't have immediate access to at the library. So if you click on an article and it doesn't say available online, you'll just see that link at the bottom that says request via interlibrary loan. If you click on that link, I think you'll see on the next slide, there's a screenshot of what it will look like after the first time you set up your account. It will automatically populate this form with all the information for the item you were just looking at. Submit a request and we'll get it for you from another library that has it at no cost to you. So if it's available electronically, which is all articles typically, you'll get it within 2 to 3 days, usually as a PDF. You'll have 30 days to download the PDF. And then after that time, of course, once it's downloaded, you can keep it indefinitely. You can also use that for books. So the way to get to ILL or interlibrary loan, to submit a request, if you're not using that Find It at UIC button, is to go to the library homepage and click on My Accounts, and then you'll see interlibrary loan there. So just to circle back to our physical library spaces, we do hope you'll be able to come and visit us. As I said, we've got 2 libraries in Chicago. The Daily Library on east side of campus, Library of the Health Sciences. We have a location in Chicago, which is where I work. We also have LHS locations in Peoria and Rockford to serve those campuses. We have spaces for individual and collaborative study, and I put the link for booking those spaces a bit further up in the chat. So those group study rooms are very popular. We do also at the Library of the Health Sciences in Chicago. Newly this year, we have the Little Sparks Family Study Space. So this was created by the Little Sparks program on campus. It's a large study room on the lower level of the Library of the Health Sciences where students who are parents can come to study and also bring small children. There's child-sized furniture, kids' books, comfortable carpet and things like that. So you can find more information about that through Little Sparks or on the library website if you're interested. Obviously, you can check out books and other things. If you're studying for your NCLEX, we have guides for that. We have anatomical models when you're taking your anatomy course. If you want to see the skull up close, we have those that you can check out and use in the building. You can use our computers and print if you need to do that, and visit the Digital Scholarship Hub, which is at Daily Library, sort of a maker space. If you've heard that term before, there are 3D printers, embroidery machines, sewing machines, vinyl printers, laser cutters. I think you can print research posters there, all kinds of things. All right, so we will be at the virtual resource fair this afternoon. So please stop by and we're happy to connect you to your personal subject librarian. And then throughout your time here, please do use Contact Us to get in touch with your librarian. You can use chat to send an instant message for those quick questions, or you can set up a Zoom or in-person meeting to sit down with your librarian and have a more complete walkthrough of all the resources that might specifically pertain to your work that you're going to be doing. And I believe that's it. There is color printing at the library, and I'll put the reserve a room link back in the chat. Give me just one moment. I'm not sure if we'll have time for questions, but as I said, we will be at the resource fair this afternoon.
I do want to throw a couple of questions from the chat your way, if you don't mind. We had a couple of questions about textbooks, actually. One about whether the library has physical copies of textbooks that students can use. And there was another question about textbooks that are available online and if they are available to all students or only to those students that check out a copy.
So we do have many textbooks. We don't have all textbooks available in the library, to answer that question, just because it's, cost prohibitive. But we have some, so you can always check in the catalog or check with your librarian to see if we have your textbook. Usually, if we can get them in electronic format, we will, just because it makes it more widely available to a larger group of people. As far as how many copies are available of an copies of an e-textbook or how many people can access it at a time, that can really vary by publisher, by the company we get it from, by cost. Some are available for an unlimited number of simultaneous users. And if that's a reasonable price, we'll try to get that one. Some publishers will only allow us to buy one copy, meaning one person can check it out and then that's it. So if you're having trouble accessing a textbook for a particular course, you could contact your librarian or encourage your faculty to contact the library, and we can see what we can do. Annie, is there anything else to add?
Not about that. I was just looking at the questions and there was one about how much printing costs. So I was just looking that up. 8 cents single-sided black and white versus 50 cents single-sided in color. You can also print double-sided. That's 10 cents black and white, 50 cents in color. Let me put that link in the chat as well.
One last question from the chat. There is someone who asked about access to the law library for non-law school students if they are looking to research legal topics.
Well, we'll have to look up the physical access because I don't remember off the top of my head. There are law librarians often on the chat reference, so you could try chat with a librarian, which is just at the bottom right of our library webpage, and ask if there's a law librarian available to help you. And maybe we
I'm,
can look up. Sorry, Annie, go ahead.
oh, that's okay. I was just looking into that. I know that some of the online resources are restricted to law students. So we actually have two completely separate websites, even though we do staff the chat together, so you can get help on the chat. As far as physical access to the library, I shared a link to the hours, but I'm still working on whether or not those hours are, open to anyone or not.
Well, we can have folks come back to the virtual resource fair and ask questions about the law library if they want to ask them there.
Yes, we can figure that out in the meantime. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you both very much for coming and sharing information about the library with us. Again, Annie and Rosie will be here this afternoon for the virtual resource fair.
Great.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. All right, folks, we will jump back into our next speaker. We're going to talk about funding. So just a real quick piled higher and deeper cartoon on funding because our next speaker is going to be Ben Williams, who is works here in the Graduate College with all of us. He is the Fellowships and Awards Coordinator in the Graduate College and the institutional advisor and or liaison for a whole bunch of fellowships. Too many for me to take the time to name. So Ben, I'm going to throw it over to you. I will stop sharing just in case you have some slides to share, and Ben will help walk you through information about funding here at UIC.
Thank you, Boyd. All right. I really wanted to have you practice your German with some of those fellowship names. All right. As Boyd said, I basically am the fellowships office. I use the collective we just because it sounds more royal. To give a sense of students with whom do I work with a whole bunch of stakeholders. And so I'm not going to read every word on this slide. I just give you a sense of that I'm working with you, but I'm also working with offices on campus. I'm working with your directors of graduate studies, and I'm also working with financial aid and a lot of different external funding agencies. Whoa, why is this only showing one piece? There we go. Okay. So in terms of internal funding, I wear many hats. So in terms of internal funding, I run over a dozen different competitions for graduate students. They run from awards to fellowships. I have another slide about some of those. I
Hey,
also
Ben,
am...
sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you, but no
Sure.
one can see your slides right now.
Oh, no. What is happening? Thank you. Let's try this again. Am I sharing now or am I sharing my email?
Right now, I can see Ben Williams has started screen sharing. Double-click to enter full screen mode.
Oh boy.
You got it.
Okay. Now I don't see what I'm sharing. All right. Am I showing the fellowship's office?
You are.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. I love these glitches. Okay, so now it's a good thing I didn't read every single word, I guess. So I run a dozen competitions. I'm the coordinator on a number of limited competitions. What are limited competitions? Funding agencies will say that the Graduate College, or we, the University of Illinois Chicago, are only allowed a certain number of nominations. So I run a lot of those. The National Institute for Social Sciences is a fairly new one. Google happens all the time. I am also a liaison with financial aid for a lot of waivers, not TA, RA, or GA waivers. I want to repeat, I do not handle RA, TA, GA waivers, but I do work with the Board of Trustee waivers and fellowship waivers. So for example, if you have a fellowship from the Graduate College, there's most likely a waiver attached, and that is going through me. In terms of external funding, one of my other hats, as Boyd alluded, I am a or the institutional advisor for a whole slew of different funding competitions. For one of them, the Fulbright program, the Fulbright U.S. Student Program, I work with Lindsay Marshall. She is my co-Fulbright program advisor. That is a competition that is in progress right now. It's very exciting. A lot of students think I don't actually exist, that I am simply an email bot, but I am a human being, as you can imagine. And the reason they think of me as a bot is because most Fridays around 11:15 a.m. I send out a funding email to approximately 14,000 students. And in the chat, I put a link to last Friday's email, and I try to include graduate positions on campus. Many are not listed publicly because they are handled through each hiring unit, which is usually an academic department. Only a very small number of positions are posted to jobs.uic.edu, which is where I usually see them. I also include some external jobs that might be of interest to recent graduates or students who are looking for part-time work in the Chicago area. And then I try to go for approximately 15 to 20 internal funding competitions. So for example, something that I run, but also, as you'll see last week and this week, there are a couple of U of I system competitions going on. So those are advertised. And then there are the externals, which are funding agencies. They could be nonprofits. They could be governmental units that are offering money to graduate students. And so that list is curated for you roughly weekly. Sometimes we go to every other week basis based on staffing levels and just the amount of content. Some of you are getting to know me in the last couple of weeks because I'm an unofficial liaison for the Foreign Fulbright Student Program, and then I also do outreach to departments and colleges when they ask me to do a presentation that's more tailored to a certain discipline or to a certain department. Fellowships, funding, all of that requires good writing, and so I've created and I keep threatening to resurrect a course called GC 513, which is a fellowship writing practicum. But more importantly, I work with Lindsay Marshall, PhD in English from UIC, who is also on this call, and she is a graduate specialist and academic advisor, and she helps students one-on-one with the writing of their fellowships and award applications on much more than I can because of the different hats that I wear. Are our students successful? Yes. That little box on the bottom shows that our students have earned over $3 million in stipends from external grants last academic year. Let's see if I can successfully go to the next slide. Okay, here are just a few samples of the internal competitions that I run. We have a few that are currently suspended due to budgetary constraints, so I did not include them. When you see the word in green, that is a fellowship, and according to graduate college parlance, a fellowship carries not only a stipend but also a waiver. And if you see something in orange or burnt orange, that is an award, and that is simply money. I say simply just because it doesn't include the waiver. The deadlines are not set yet for the upcoming academic year. They will be set shortly. Last, what can you do? All right. So your studies or project may not need additional funding. You may have a funding package from your program. You have what you need. You're doing your degree. You want to get in, get out. That's great. We may never cross paths again. However, some of you may have projects that require research. I saw in the chat earlier people talking about international field work. So you are probably more attuned to my funding emails and asking more questions. So what can you do? 3 quick tips. You can look, prepare, and plan ahead. So in terms of looking, I think an easy place to start is the weekly funding email. You can also go to the Grad College website for the internal competitions. In terms of the culture, for people in the sciences, it may be a no-brainer. Research in your discipline is funded by NIH, period. Okay, that makes it pretty simple. But perhaps if you're studying, for example, Alzheimer's disease or neurodegenerative diseases, maybe you're also looking at the Alzheimer's Association or different nonprofit funding agencies that offer monies. The American Heart Association has been funding a lot of our graduate students lately, and I know that deadline is coming up very shortly. So professional organizations, nonprofits, they are often excellent sources of funding. And then lastly, in terms of looking, yes, I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you and you're probably going to start obsessing, but try not to obsess. It's better to educate yourself, to pace yourself, and get a sense of what is plausible, what is feasible now, and what is maybe for down the road. So, looking down the road, let's prepare. Just, this sounds really dumb, but just create a box folder for all of your funding competitions that you think you might apply for. Just have a folder for every different funding source would be one approach. Subfolder. Box folders are boxes free for UIC students. Create a spreadsheet. Again, this is not rocket science. You have one column, which is maybe the funding agency. The next column is maybe the website or URL. The next column is the deadline, which is extremely important. You just keep adding columns for what works for you. Next, and also the spreadsheet, I'll show you why that carries over to other parts of your life. Update your CV. At some point, you may have three different versions of your CV. You may have a research CV, you may have a teaching CV, you may have what I call the kitchen sink CV, where you just put everything. But the important thing is to have a CV, because the last thing you want to do is see a funding opportunity that's due in 1 week, and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't touched my CV in 2 years. Just keep it up to date. It's really easy. Elevator pitch. We talk about elevator pitches a fair amount. I guess it might depend on the discipline. The 3-minute thesis is a great competition to develop an elevator pitch. What this basically means is, grad college is on the 6th floor, and you're getting on the 1st floor, and someone's getting off at 3. So between 1 and 6 or 1 and 15, try to have a quick pitch about your project, what you're doing, and then write that down. It's good to have both an oral version and a written version. You can whip this out, the oral version in cocktail parties, the written version you're going to use in your funding applications. This is something you will hone over time, obviously. Peer group. I think it's really important. It's something we don't talk enough about. The graduate college has a couple of people who can help you. You have peers in your department, in your program. Get to know each other, help each other, read each other's drafts. You are going through the same thing, so why not do it collectively and not see each other as competition? Read. Just, read in your field, read outside of your field. I'm a strong believer that reading helps to make you a better writer. I also think reading lets you know what has been done, what has not been done. So when you can, try to read. I know it seems like it's a dying art for some dinosaurs like me. Planning ahead. I think of myself as kind of a lazy letter writer. I do get asked to write letters of recommendation from time to time. And what makes my life easier is when a student sends me sort of a boilerplate template, an email or a one-pager that they probably took from their spreadsheet. And this has the funding source, the name of the award they're applying for, the URL, the deadline, and maybe give the person a deadline of a week prior to what it actually is, and give me some keywords or themes that you think I should work into my letter, and obviously tell me how to submit it. I don't want to write a letter and then at the 11th hour try to figure out how am I supposed to submit this. And if you take all of this advice, at least some of this advice, into your thinking and treat it as a part-time job, maybe just 2 hours a week, I think this will make your life a lot easier down the road. Last slide. I'm going to go fast here. Oh, maybe that was it. That was it. All right. I'm going to stop share. And I am on time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ben. We do have a bunch of questions for you in the chat.
Okay.
But are you going to be hanging around?
I will hang around. I will answer them as quickly as I can.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
right.
Lindsay, for jumping in as well.
Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Ben. Next up is actually another representative of the Graduate College, Teresa Christensen Caballero. who is our Director of Graduate Student Professional and Career Development. And Teresa is going to talk to you about some of the amazing work that she and her team do with graduate students here at UIC. And it looks like maybe Lindsay is going to talk to us as well. Fantastic. All right. So Dr. Lindsay Marshall is here as well. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to y'all.
Thanks, Boyd. And welcome, everyone. Bienvenidos. My name is Teresa Christensen Caballero, she, her, ella pronouns. And I am so excited that you are joining us at UIC in this crazy time, in this crazy moment. But grad school is great and also challenging and also hard. And that's why we're here for you. So I am going to, I've been at UIC for 22 years. Yes, 22 years. I was a graduate student here at UIC myself. Actually, our entire team was graduate students here at UIC. So we know what it's like to be sitting in the seat that you're sitting in and get through these programs and figure things out. I'm going to turn it over to my team members, Dr. Lindsay Marshall and Dr. Vincent Auditory, to introduce themselves. And then I'll share some slides about some things we have going on and coming up for the rest of the fall, as well as some spring things to keep on your calendar. Just a quick note, there are so many people talking to you this week with so much information. The key thing is just to note that you know we're here. And when you need us, we will be here. You don't need to remember every single thing we're saying today, every email, every workshop, every funding thing, like all the things we're saying. It's a lot, y'all. So just know we're here. You can find us when you need us, and it'll be okay. I promise. All right, I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Marshall and then Dr. Auditory after that.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Lindsay Marshall. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here in the Graduate College with Vin, Teresa, Boyd, all of the wonderful people that you are meeting and speaking with today. And I just want to start by saying that if it's any kind of indication of the sort of community you can build in graduate school, Vin and I, who are now both doctors and at UIC and in the graduate college, met in our PhD cohort in 2008. I was at Vin's wedding. I know his children. I know his wife. It's like graduate school can do a lot of things, but community is one of those really important pieces. And it's something that can get overlooked in the hecticness of studying and reading and trying to produce papers and research and being in the lab. And we just want to say that we are part of a community and you are part of that now with us. And that is one of our big kind of beliefs and missions as the graduate student support team in the graduate college. So I just want to start by saying that because I know Vin, I love Vin. I've known him for a really long time, and we both started getting to know each other kind of sitting right where you're sitting now. So my formal title in the graduate college is writing specialist and academic advisor. And I'll go quickly and turn it over to Vin. But what that basically means is that I am here and Vin is here and Teresa is here to help you with a variety of things. My angle is kind of the writing part. And so I work with students on academic projects, but also on job materials, on fellowship and award applications. As Ben was mentioning, I serve as the Fulbright program advisor alongside Ben, so work on written materials for opportunities like that. And it should not surprise you to hear that in my second title, academic advisor, there are a lot of feelings that come up surrounding reading, writing, and worrying or feeling a lot of fear that you don't know everything that you're supposed to. Maybe you got into grad school by mistake. That is not true. You're here because you're supposed to be here. And even though writing and reading for graduate school can produce a lot of anxiety, there are lots of things we can do to help ease some of that anxiety. And that's a little bit of what we are here for as a graduate student support team. So thanks for listening to my spiel. And I look forward to meeting many of you in person and on Zoom.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody. My name is Vincent Auditory, Dr. Vincent Auditory. I am the Graduate Communications and Professional Development Advisor And I am part of the graduate student support team with Lindsay and Teresa. It is my second year in this position. And I will say, since Ben was just talking about 512 and it's down in the chat, I'll let you all know, welcome, number one, welcome to UIC. And it is remarkable to reflect with Lindsay together on our kind of career paths. I don't think Lindsay or I necessarily imagined that we would be working together still at UIC and supporting graduate students in the way that we do. Lindsay's background is in rhetoric and mine is in literature. And while I still teach literature to undergraduates, my primary responsibilities here in the graduate college are to work with graduate students across the discipline. So while my PhD is in literature, in my experience teaching 512 for 7 years, I had a chance to work with students across the disciplines from the humanities and social sciences, as well as all kinds of STEM fields. So um, while my expertise is in literature, my scholarship is in literature, I am prepared and experienced in working with students across the discipline. So I welcome any and all of you in your time at UIC to contact me for whatever you may need or think you may need when it comes to either communication, research communication, and or professional development. So again, I've had a chance to take a kind of unorthodox trajectory myself. I've watched other students take unorthodox trajectories, but also to watching the more traditional ones as well. So in my position here in the grad college, I'm trying to be as dynamic as possible to meet the needs of students who are entering into work market, job markets that are quite different and changing as the 21st century unfolds. In the fall, I'm just going to say two brief things. In the fall, you will see, and Teresa's going to go over this, you will see that we have a series of workshops. I will be leading many of those. So that will be one of my primary things going on in the fall is to be leading these workshops. And then in the spring, myself, Teresa, and others anchor the 3-minute thesis competition. That's a big spring event for us in the graduate college, and you'll hear more about that. I don't want to. I'm not going to say anything more, as Lindsay and Teresa have already acknowledged. You get a lot of information today, but I think the main thing that Teresa has already said is just know that we're here. You might not need us immediately, but you're going to be here for a little while, is our assumption and our hope, and we'll be here with you. Okay, so Teresa will share other information. If there's questions down in the chat or whatever, just let us know. But Vincent Auditory is my name. Great to see everybody. Welcome to UIC.
Thank you, Lindsay and Vincent. Here's our names on a slide. On our fun picture on the right, someone not talking today is Jeremy Mosley, our graduate assistant, and this is one of our programs last year. So when I was thinking last night about, how are we going to say what we do to our students, I was like, you know what we are? We're a backup band. You are the star, right? You are the rock star making it through your graduate program, and we are your backup band, giving you the right tunes. Both Lindsay and Vin and I all like music, so I know that this would work, right? Jeremis as well. So we're here to support you with workshops, events. We do one-on-one academic advising, career advising, coaching. I don't need to go through all of these. You can read these. We do CV and cover letter reviews. I'm going to talk a little bit about some individual development plans. You may be thinking, Teresa, why are you talking to me about career? Let me just get through my graduate work. But let me tell you, y'all, this starts right now. Like, you need to be thinking about what those trajectories are and what you want to be doing to set yourself up, especially in this time, right, to get hired after graduate school, during graduate school, et cetera. So we also do fun things. We're doing a giant picnic. I'm going to show you a flyer for that in a second. We do wellness events. So these are the breadth of things we do. I know, Lindsay and Ben, if I'm forgetting anything else, please let me know. We do more than this too, right? You can only fit so much on a slide. But just to take note, if we don't do it and you need help with it, let us know. Maybe we do a workshop around that. So these are some of the workshops and programs that we work on for you all. Vincent was mentioning some upcoming workshops. So don't worry about getting this all down right now. You're going to be receiving emails. Also, within the next week, we'll have updated all of the upcoming events on the graduate student website events page. I'm going to have a link for you to find out where that is. So we're doing a basic Q&A on the 27th. This is going to be a great one. You know, as you're kind of going through this day and processing everything, maybe you have some questions you're going to come up with tomorrow, later this week. So we on August 27th, we're going to be just talking about, you know, any graduate student questions, our experiences even getting through programs, maybe some hidden curriculum things that folks you don't really know about yet, right? But you're kind of uncovering and learning about. On the September 17th, we're going to do some flash sessions. So we're going to be doing mini versions of the workshops that we're going to be doing whole workshops on the rest of the semester. So you can kind of get a taste of our style, of the things that we're going to be presenting on. We're going to be talking about mentoring, writing, career planning. And then on September 24th, we have a professional development workshop. So just to know that those things are on the radar. This is a list of events. Not everything's up yet, but this is what's coming this semester, right? So we have a lot on the calendar. Know that most of our sessions are going to be on Wednesdays between 12 and 2 at some point. So usually 12 to 1:30. So if you want to mark off your Wednesdays now, know that we have these sessions. Most of our sessions are hybrid, not all of them, but most of them are hybrid. So know if you're on the Rockford campus or you have life things and work things that don't allow you to be on campus, that's okay. We are very comfortable in hybrid formats, allowing students to be where you are. And if you want to come in, usually we have snacks or food or presents for you, like when you come in. So there's always a bonus to kind of come in for these. But these are a lot of the sessions that we have coming up. Any highlights, Lindsay or Vincent, you want to highlight on the list that we have coming up?
I know that, I mean, all of these look great. They will be great. And I put it in the chat and Teresa just said it, but I'm just going to like emphasize that if you send yourself an email right now, or however you send notes to yourself, Wednesday is at 12, because if you have that kind of set aside and you're able to make it, we really will be offering workshops pretty much every week throughout the semester. So that's a really useful thing to know about on a range of topics as well. So I'm just repeating, but I'm like, save the dates, save the dates.
Sorry, we don't have cute fridge magnets of us and like romantic backgrounds like your other save the dates, perhaps of friends making life choices. But this is what we got, y'all. Maybe it's pretty, maybe it's not. A very fun event we have coming up is on September 10th, 11:30 to 1:30. There's going to be free food. There's going to be free giveaways. Yes, I said free food. We know we only need to say that once for graduate students. So come on by. We're going to have food trucks, giveaways, music. It'll be a social event. You'll get to meet other students. And we'll be sending out these flyers. You can also access it on the Graduate College website. And we'll have a lot of fun that day. So come on by if you have a chance. Again, it's a Wednesday. It's a little earlier, 11:30 to 1:30, but we're on the Wednesday. So make sure to also RSVP so we make sure that we have food for you. This is just a note of something I was talking about earlier of knowing your career planning, thinking about career planning. We have a lot of tools, some free, some that we pay for. We pay for access to the National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity, which has a ton of webinars. And then these two, Imagine PhD and MyIDP, are individual development plan sites where you can go and explore and think about your career planning. So check those out. We'll be talking about those more in the individual development planning workshops coming up this semester. I know we mentioned the 3-minute thesis. Maybe this isn't something right for now. Maybe this is something if you're a master's student in the second year, if you're a PhD student, maybe years 3, 4. But to keep this in your mind, here's our winners. It's a research communication competition, and you have 3 minutes to consolidate your research. It's a lot of fun. It's excellent practice for what Ben was talking about earlier, your elevator pitch and talk. And it's a great opportunity to kind of hone in on being able to describe what you're doing in your work and all of the amazing work that you're doing. Vin, really quickly, do you want to talk about research storytelling in about 20 seconds?
This is an important piece of what you'll be doing at UIC. If you get started now, you will get better as you go. So challenge yourself now to start talking to people about your research outside of your field, while at the same time polish your skills talking to people within your field. So that's about all I'm going to say in 20
Yeah,
seconds.
that's great. I know we don't have time, sorry.
Yeah, right.
But we do have research storytelling workshops coming up in the spring, so be on a lookout for that. Really quickly, we have an amazing grad appreciation week that this was last year's. This was our keynote speaker last year. If you're a plant person, we might do that again. That's super popular. We do a plant and pot social. Oop, I know I'm at time. Sorry, give me 1 minute and I will be off. A lot of different kind of programming, fun programming, useful programming. And then I'm not sure if Dean Eddington mentioned it, but we also have a grad student virtual town hall happening on Thursday, September 4th. We'll also be updating this information. We had a couple minutes, so sorry to rush y'all, but it'll be on the website. We're here, the grad student support team, and we look forward to meeting with you and talking with you and seeing you in our workshops. Write it down, Wednesdays at 12. Back to Boyd.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the whole grad student support team. Vin, I'm sorry I didn't introduce you earlier. I didn't see you there on camera, but thank you to all three of you. Right now, we're actually going to take a 15-minute, well, at this point, we're going to take a 14-minute stretch break. So everybody get up from your computer, walk around a little bit, get a drink of water, cup of coffee, go outside and breathe some fresh air. We will be back at 10:45 with a grad student panel who are going to answer some of the questions that you have already sent in, as well as some questions that you will throw into the chat. So we'll see you at 10:45. Thanks, everybody. just a quick update. We'll be back in 2 minutes. So get your glass of water, get your cup of coffee, pet your cat, and we will see you in 2. Yeah, I think this. All right, folks, we are back. I'm gonna stop sharing my slide. And next up, we have our graduate student panel. As I said before, folks have sent in some questions for our experienced grad students. And we will also obviously have the chat open, so please feel free to add more questions for our experienced graduate students. And let me just take a moment to introduce folks. I was told we had 3 people, but I think we actually have 4, which is exciting. So from the English department, we have Eliza Marley. From Curriculum Studies in the College of Education, we have Candace Mason. From Disability Studies in the College of Applied Health Sciences, we have Corbin Outlaw. And I believe Rosa Mendoza, are you joining our panel as well from Biological Sciences? So we have 4 folks here, it looks like, to answer your questions. And I will get started by just reading the first question or set of questions that students had for our experienced grad students. Lindsay, I see you on screen, and as a former grad student, you're welcome to, to answer some questions if you want to. Nope, you want to opt out of that? All right, we'll let you opt out of that, I guess, this time. All right, so my question for our official panel of graduate students is, my first question is, how did you transition from undergrad into graduate school? What should, follow-up question, what should new graduate students expect academically and or socially? So let's throw it to Eliza, because you're the first person on my screen.
Thank you. Hi. Can everyone hear me okay? Wonderful. So nice to meet everyone. Thanks for having me on this panel. My transition from undergraduate to graduate school was sort of buffered by a couple years out of school entirely back in just a regular workforce situation. Coming back, I think one of the hardest adjustments for me was just getting back into the rhythm of sort of what the workload looked like in the English department. That meant, some dense theoretical readings weekly. I'm in the fiction program, so it was sort of came down to, yeah, finding my rhythm between like time to write, time to create the things I wanted to make, the things that I was creating and using for school, doing my reading. I would say it took me probably like through my first semester of my master's degree to really sort of hit my stride and like time in the day, how I was going to break up the hours. And what really helped that was talking to the people in the cohort ahead of me who were very kind and validating and helpful and just like, yeah, it is stressful to be back in school after a minute, and it is hard to balance everything and have like an adult life. So that was very nice as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Eliza. Corbin, I see you next on my screen, so I'm going to throw it to you. How did you transition from undergrad to grad school, and what should new grad students expect academically and or socially?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Hopefully I can provide some helpful answers. I went straight from undergrad into my master's, which was online, and then I took a year off to work before I started my PhD. So it's all a little fuzzy with the COVID master's too. But I think something I always said about my master's is like you really get out what you put into it, and I think a PhD is sort of the same way, where it's really what you pursue, what kind of resources you reach out to at like academically as well as socially. You just really get out what you put into it. And sometimes you can't put in as much, but you still obviously like are able to complete your program and do a great, like have a great time. But yeah, I think it's like a lot of the when you have that kind of energy and capacity to go after as much stuff as you can, and sort of yeah, you get out what you put into it, I think is sort of my answer there.
Great. Rosa, I see you next on my screen. What do you have to say about the transition from undergrad to grad school, or what new grad students should expect academically or socially?
I think, um, do you hear an echo?
I think you're on two different devices, it looks like. So
Yeah,
if
let
you
me
want to mute one of
read
them.
from my laptop. My camera isn't working on my laptop, so I guess I'm using my phone. Sorry, but I think that in undergrad I was originally a pre-med, and I was like the pre-med like that you see on TikTok, where you like go to the gym at like 5 4 a.m. and then you um go to your 8 a.m. lab, and then you have like 20 credits. And then I was also working, it was almost full time, it was like 35 36 hours on average, and it was just always 20,000 things to do. But then as a graduate student, now it's like, oh, sometimes I don't even have time to shower. Sometimes it's like I'm in the lab 14 hours, but I think it's a specific, like, maybe it's either my specific lab or maybe the department. But when you're running experiments, it's really hard to just like stop in the middle of an experiment and be like, oh, let me go eat or something like that if you're like doing a surgery. So there's been times where it's like a long day of just doing one specific task. So that's very different from like having all these different things to do during undergrad. I think that was like a new thing to me, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I only did surgeries today. And in undergrad, you're like, oh, I went to the gym, I did this, I did this, I did this. So it's completely different in that sense for me as a biological sciences PhD. The social aspect, I think it's kind of the same, at least for me. I don't think I had that many friends in undergrad. And I think it's kind of the same for graduate school. I think it's really helpful if you have like at least one person you really get along with in your lab that you can kind of do some work with, or if you have someone at least in your cohort, so you guys kind of take the same classes or things like that. That's like really fun if you could find at least one person.
Excellent. Thank you, Rosa. Candice, how about you? How did you transition from undergrad to grad school, and what do you feel like is important to share with new graduate students about what they should expect academically or socially?
Just to check, are we good with audio? I have my headphones on here. You sound good? Thank you. Nice to see you. So I transitioned, so I actually came right out of undergrad into my PhD program. And so I was graduating from San Francisco State in May, and I crash landed in Chicago in August. And so my transition was probably different than some folks who came in with masters, probably different than some folks who were Chicagoans or Midwesterners. I'm from California, the Bay Area. So it's a social and environmental shift for sure that I had to go through, but also one in getting familiar with what the expectations of a graduate student actually looked like. For me, socially, it was important for me to make connections in my classes. So in my program, which is no longer an actual program, but there are a few of us still in this program that transitioned into another. We don't have cohorts, and we didn't have any sort of track where we were put into courses with other students frequently. We didn't have any labs, anything like that, right? So my work was being intentional about building community through the courses that I took. So one, I got to know my advisor really well, right? Two, I made friends in my classes and stuck with folks when it came to selecting classes for other semesters. Like, hey, what are you thinking of taking? What courses have you taken before? Staying aware of the events that were happening in my college or department and finding ways that I could engage or participate or lead these things, right? Whether through assistantships or just volunteering, just so that my name was out there, my face was out there, and not in this weird, overly sort of networky way, but being intentional and building relationships with folks, right? That matters, right? As you move along your program. Another thing that now reaching my candidacy, right? Being a candidate, I look back on my many years of being in this program, and you will make friends, you will find some community, but your community that you start out with the first couple years may alter, right? By the time you reach the end point. And it's really important to be aware of that, right? Who you're surrounding yourself with, who you're building community with, who you're collaborating with, right? And knowing that, being flexible and knowing that things may change actually along the way, which could be a very good thing, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Candice. I have some follow-up questions that are related to this that people threw into the chat. And I'm just going to say, panel, just jump in when you have something to say. We'll do this like we're doing an online class, and I'm not going to call on people. We can figure it out. We'll have a conversation. But I know that Rosa mentioned in undergraduate working almost full time. New student is wondering if any of y'all have worked off campus in full-time jobs while you have gone to grad school, and what that experience was like in trying to balance those kind of two worlds and make sure that you were getting everything done in both of them.
I can speak to that a little bit. During my master's, I worked full time off campus. Now I'm entering the second year of my PhD. I was working part time during the first year, and now I'm working as a caregiver for a family member, which, while less formal, is still labor off campus. Um, I I found a job that worked with the hours for my semester, and I was very, upfront and honest with those employers about like, hey, I'm a student. This semester to semester, I may need some flexibility in changing the schedule. I was very fortunate to work a receptionist job at a swim school, so the hours sort of worked out. And then I had my work hours, and I kind of knew what would be possible and what wouldn't be possible within that, and I would pick my courses accordingly. And just it is also helpful to think about the sort of job that is beneficial to you. Something where you might have, downtime at a desk to get some work done, or something where you're, up on your feet a little bit to give your brain a break. I waitressed a lot through undergrad and even into the start of my master's, and I actually really liked that because it gave me a chance to do something that wasn't sitting and typing. Yeah, just at finding something that like you feel like is going to work for your situation and where you can get to know your employer, I think is helpful.
I can talk maybe. Sorry. I am part of the bios, like they've mentioned. Um, but in the bios department, you're able to TA, and as of now, it's assured that we all have a TA opportunity. Um, and the TA, there's different percentages. Usually, the full time, which is about 20 hours a week, would be a 50% TA ship. And then there's some that are like 10% or 15%, depending on well, the workload for the course. But I had done that almost the entire PhD time, my journey right now. But this summer, I actually did an internship with a company. So today is my first day back. I just got back last night. Um, and during that period, technically, I was paid for through the internship through the company, and I wasn't getting paid from UIC at all. And I was still trying to do my work. So I would finish there at my internship, and I would go back to my apartment, try to eat first because I will forget to eat. So I would try to cook, shower. I was working with salmonella with like very high counts of salmonella, so I really wanted to like take everything off. So I should have showered before cooking, but we're gonna skip that. And then I would try to do at least 2 to 3 hours of either reading or writing. This summer was mainly I was writing 2 manuscripts, so it was a lot of just reading or writing. And we kind of planned it out like that with my PI because I wasn't going to be able to be in person. So I try to at least 2 to 3 hours. I think if you try to assign certain hours of reading and writing, it forces you a bit instead of just saying like, oh, I'm going to read today. I think like putting that specific time really helps. But it was very difficult. And there was a week where my apartment was trying to do extra charges and so many things were going wrong in the lab, and so it's okay if not every single day you can do like 10 hours of reading or writing. Um, I think it's very important to make sure you're eating and sleeping and showering. I think that sometimes you may go into bumps into your PhD where you're forgetting to do those things. So please make sure um, to try to remember you're still human.
Thank you, Rosa. Corbett or Candace, do you have anything to add about sort of work, school balance?
Yeah, I've only done like university associated jobs during my PhD. But do think it can be nice to do some like a different type of work over breaks over the summer if you're working then. It can be a little nice to just get that distance. But when I have worked while in grad school, kind of what Eliza said, like finding jobs that fit with your schedule, often sometimes disclosing to your employer that you're a grad student and things like that. I would apply for jobs where I knew I would have a lot of downtime to read or write. Or if it's things that like I forgot to schedule in, like things like physical exercise, it would be nice to have a job that would kind of fill the needs that maybe get overlooked when I'm doing grad work. So that's kind of been my experience with it. And I hope that's helpful.
Awesome. So on the flip side, we have a bunch of people asking about social life. So we talked a little bit about balancing school and work. How do y'all balance school and having a social life outside of school? But also, folks are asking about sort of clubs and organizations on campus for grad students, which I'm going to count among social life options. So if you have anything to say about sort of how you balance school with having a social life or where you have found social opportunities on campus, we would love to hear that from our grad student panel.
I can start. For social stuff, my kind of experiences, I've taken classes in other departments was really helpful, but also staying in touch with your cohort. Mine has like a WhatsApp group chat, and we would organize outings and things like that, especially the first couple years. But I actually met one of the other panelists, Eliza, taking classes in other departments, and also kind of uh, just kind of hanging out with a different cohort can be helpful. I also think that for those of you considering joining GEO, the Grad Workers Union, a lot of those events, whether it's workshops or events, we tend to like make a lot of social connections that way. Also, the different cultural centers around the university. I do disability studies. I'm a student with a disability. So I've had some great events at the Disability Cultural Center. This one kind of balances like academics and social, but my department doesn't have as much of the humanities side of our field. So I get every opportunity that I get, I try to go to events at the Institute for the Humanities because it kind of fulfills that need that I'm not getting, but also is a great opportunity to meet people. Um, I think that's kind of just a lot of the events on campus can be really fun to go to. A lot of different like places, departments, institutes, centers have newsletters, so I try to subscribe to as many of those as I can to like really get like the full kind of calendar of events that might be interesting to me. And sort of that. I think also just being a regular face at a lot of like different spaces can help. Like people recognize you, you start conversations. And I think that's kind of it I have to say about the social aspect. But yeah, subscribing to a lot of newsletters, I think, to find things, sort of taking the opportunity to reach out to other grad students. Like something I recommend that my students do that I do myself is, when you're in a new class, if you don't know anyone, ask someone if you can get their number so that you can exchange notes if someone's missing or something like that. Just like very small things like that are a really good way. I think also a lot of us will go out for coffee before class or drinks after class. And that can be a great way to just kind of be in a group of people and get to know them in a different context than being in the classroom. Yeah, so just a lot of, I think, different small things that you can do that will add up to giving you kind of a more robust, and I would say healthy social life.
Awesome. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt the flow a little bit here, just for two things. Just to reiterate the mention of the Centers for Cultural Understanding and Social Change, including the Disability Cultural Center, which Corbin mentioned. They will have representatives at the virtual resource fair this afternoon at 1:30. So if you have questions about the cultural centers, please do come to the virtual resource fair at 1:30. Someone will be there to answer questions about that. But also, I see we have a new panelist who has just joined us. So would you like to introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit? Right now, we're talking about balancing school with a social life outside of school. So I'm gonna put you on the spot and throw that to you. And please uh, introduce yourself and tell us what department you're from, and talk a little bit about balancing school and social life.
Hi, I think that you're meaning me. I didn't know if anyone else joined. Thank you so much. I appreciate being here. My name is Sochi Ladame. I am a PhD candidate in the social work, the College of Social Work. Um, and I've been with the program going, this is my 6th year. Um, and it's been a while. I need to get going and be done. But I will say that in that time, in terms of balancing social life and school life and many other types of responsibilities, um, I think there's like oftentimes like kind of like a joke, half joke that, oh, well, what social life? Like, what are you talking about? There's no time for that. Um, but you do make time. You have to do something, to kind of remind yourself that there's things beyond what you're doing, that you're not just a student, and it's important not to let those meaningful and important friendships and other types of relationships in your life go to the wayside, even though the best of your friends will understand, they have many things going on. Um, but, cultivating those relationships has to happen even when you're in school. So even if it's something that is just a little bit of time, like a coffee or just going out for ice cream or whatever, I think, what works best for me, which hopefully is not a turnoff to other folks that do not operate this way, but I do have to plan in advance and schedule it. I really wish that these past 5 years could have been where I could have done things very impromptu and unscheduled. And that part of social life, I think, is very much on hold during this time. That you like those kind of, sudden, oh, let's go do this. No, that's not probably going to happen. But if you schedule it, it can be really meaningful still, I think. And every little bit counts, even if it's actually online. Like I get together quite a few times with other friends of mine that we can't seem to pin down a date, and we just do something online on Zoom, and fun time still. It's not ideal, but nonetheless, you get to see each other's faces and hear from each other and check in. So I think you have to get creative, in order to kind of stay active socially. But a little goes a long way. I'll say that. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Does anyone else want to talk about balancing academics and a social life, either on campus or off campus, where you find community on campus, etc.?
I can say a little, just in terms of like friends who aren't at all involved with the UIC and who exist sort of outside the university, getting creative with timings or activities. I've invited my friends to come visit me here and like given them a campus tour. There's lots of, there's some little cafes and stuff nearby, or just trying to find times like a little breakfast or a walk, or I'll do co-working sessions with my friends where they maybe have something they want to do, or an art project or a craft, and I'll sort of read or write in the corner. Actually, a lot of my friends use me when they need to clean their rooms. I'll like set up in someone's room and write, and they'll kind of run around and do chores. It can be useful. For friends on campus, I absolutely echo trying to make those connections. Just, talk to people in your classes, talk to your professors, talk to people you see. The graduate college events are really, really nice. Even, like events and things, there's so much happening on campus. It can be really overwhelming sometimes. And especially if you do work, it can be really hard to like find things that fit your schedule. If you get in touch with the people who put on the kinds of events that you're interested in, that can be really nice in terms of setting up like, oh, I'm really interested in this thing and I'd like to do this. What do you recommend? There's so much stuff always happening in the city and on campus, and sometimes people with overlapping interests can like guide you towards things you might not have heard of.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have social life
Can I just
information?
add one thing? Going off of what other folks were saying about like scheduling things. I tend to be the kind of person who like I have to cancel things last minute a lot because I'm not feeling great. But I will say scheduling things is so helpful. Like, and that goes beyond to like spending time with someone. Like I know when I get really stressed, or really busy, I tend to not respond to like texts or not like call family members. So even just like scheduling a time to check my messages and call my family, check my Discord and all of that has been really great to like keep those connections going so I don't have to like pick everything back up at the end of the semester, having like, kind of been distant for a while. And yeah, scheduling co-working, things like that, can also be really helpful, just to kind of keep that consistency, keep that kind of social interaction, and can also be a good indicator of like needing more social interaction. Like if you schedule like a co-working session with someone and you end up just chatting the whole time, that can be a good indicator that maybe your social needs aren't being met, uh, which happens a fair bit to me, but could also just be the nature of it. But yeah, I think scheduling stuff as much as you can and being also forgiving when schedules change rapidly or last minute can be, I think, a huge deal as well. And just, communicating to the folks you're spending time with that you might, have a lot of scheduling constraints or things like that could be really helpful. And yeah, echoing what Eliza said, if there's an event you want to participate in that you weren't able to, reaching out to them and seeing like if you could like co-sponsor a new event or something like that can be a really great way to get involved and kind of network professionally. I try not to I try to kind of keep the social and academic stuff separate, but they bleed together very, very much. But yeah, scheduling can really help, but also being really forgiving when schedules don't work out.
I just want to jump in and say real quick because it's important to point out a few things. I have friends on this call, and I'm on this call because of friends, actually. And so Sochi just came on, and we're actually a part of a Discord group, right? It started off as a group of a couple of us in the College of Education where I'm from and the Learning Sciences. It was a group of women who do arts-based research, and we were like, we're friends, let's write together. And so we got on this Discord app, right? And we just wanted accountability. And so we'd be chatting with each other on our breaks in between writing, right? In between researching, in between dissertating, right? Which has become really useful, especially when you get to, for folks who get to the PhD level, when you start dissertating, some of your community falls away because you're no longer taking classes, right? You no longer technically have to be on campus for many of us, right? So it's important to have these anchors, right? And for me, it's been largely through my friends and this Discord group who've become some of my closest of friends at that, right? Where we keep up with one another in our writing and our research through our daily lives, what we're up to this weekend with our family, right? Some folks have kids, some folks have married partners, right? Or just partners in general, and taking care of their loved ones, their parents, and we check in with one another in that space, right? And it becomes a place for us to sort of do a whole bunch of things at once, right? Without having to, jump off and text or jump off and make a call necessarily, right? And so that's really important to point out when it comes to utilizing our technology, right? To stay connected with folks, right? I want to point out that Lindsay is on here as well, Lindsay Marshall, who is a grad writing coach, and I met her in that capacity, but Lindsay is one of my best friends now, right? And it's all because I decided to keep up with talking to her, right? We hit it off and we caught each other's vibe, right? And we decided to stay connected. And so not only do we meet in regarding to research at this dissertating level, but we meet because we love each other. And it's important to find people, right? Again, this sense of community and being really intentional, and not for the purpose necessarily of always it being for the reason of wanting to publish something with someone or collaborate in that way, but simply because we need soul food, right? And we need each other in these spaces, especially folks who are hyper marginalized, right? I am a Black woman, right, in academia. I am a woman in academia, right? And there are many, many spaces where I'm not necessarily welcome in, or I would say academia wasn't designed for people like me, right? And then I'm also pretty young still, right? So there's also that sort of quality that has to be accounted for in these spaces, right? So being intentional about sticking with people and finding people that you can, do things with, whether it's finding accountability when it comes to writing, or just folks to vent and talk about what's going on in our lives as people outside of academia. And then the last thing I would say is make friends and sustain friendships with people who have nothing to do with your program, who have nothing to do with being in academia, who have no care for what you're doing other than the fact of you doing it, right? That's very important to hold on to in being well-rounded, holistic development, right? Well-rounded people. Yeah, I think that's all I'll share.
Rosa, I see you added something to the chat about volunteering at the greenhouse, but I didn't know if you wanted to share anything else or if we should move to the next but related question.
Sorry, no, I'm just trying to answer some of the chats of different things you can do and stuff like that.
Awesome. So I think this question, which was one of the questions that we shared with y'all beforehand, is related to everything that we've been talking about because we've been talking about balancing school and work and social life. And so, how do you manage stress? Who wants to tackle that one first?
I do go to therapy. Um, I I still have to pay. I could do a partial payment for mine because I don't have the insurance with UIC, but the UIC also has some services as well. Um, but specifically because I was going to be in Kansas for my internship this summer, I specifically got an apartment with a hot tub because I was like, if I'm going to be stressed and writing and reading, I'm going to do it in a hot tub at least, like bare minimum, at least if I can. Um, but I do have a fiance, and I think that my fiance is not in academia or STEM. And I think that the conversations having that something else differently also kind of brings me back. Sometimes you're thinking of like, oh my gosh, well, what if my cells die, or what if this happens, or whatever. So then kind of realizing that there's a whole world outside of just like your project is really nice. So talking to people that have nothing to do with your work is nice. But also, I love hiking. We just went because my internship ended on Friday. We flew to, he flew to Kansas and then we flew to Colorado so we could go to Colorado Springs, and we went to the Garden of Gods and we hiked. So hiking is another way of me like coming back to earth, like literally. So I
I'm just going to jump in and say I was just at Garden of the Gods this summer. And if y'all can make it out to Colorado, it is absolutely beautiful there. So that's my plug. How do other folks manage?
Um, I find that sort of echoing back to what folks were saying about scheduling things, trying to schedule little breaks for myself throughout the day really, really helps. And it looks different depending on where in the semester I am. Sometimes 5 minutes to like sit outside and stare into the middle distance is what I've got. Sometimes it's a couple hours where I can like go for a walk in the morning, and that can be really nice. I think just taking some time to like move the body, stretch, roll out the shoulders, the neck and stuff, can be really, really nice. And a little can go a really long way when you're super in like the thick of it.
I completely agree with that. I sometimes will have like a list too of like either like more fun tasks that I need to do or like just things that I like to do that allow me to kind of disconnect for a little bit. Like going on a walk is a big one. Even in the Chicago winters, it can be so helpful, especially when you're not attending classes in person or just kind of in your apartment. Um, I my partner's also a PhD student, and so sometimes we have to have like a moratorium on like we're not gonna talk about grad school, we're not gonna talk about work, we're gonna like keep it keep it social, and that sort of has been helpful. I think also like it's important to acknowledge that like there's only so much you can do to manage stress. Sometimes it does just get overwhelming, or you just really don't have the time. And so I think just like being kind to yourself, like I know that's kind of a non-helpful nothing statement, but it's worth repeating to yourself. Sometimes you just need to say the really obvious things. But yeah, I think just making sure that you know what to do if you realize you need something. I'm really bad at thinking about things in the moment when I realize that I need to take a break. So yeah, having a list of like, these are something I can do that takes 5 minutes. This is something I can do that takes an hour. If I need the evening off, this is something I could do to kind of relax. Is super helpful for when you're just really in it and are having trouble like kind of making those decisions or like executive dysfunction, that kind of stuff. But yeah, the balancing stress is definitely a sort of an ongoing thing that we're all still figuring out, I think. But yeah, a lot of physical activity too helps. I'm disabled, so I can be really limited in that, but finding just really small things to do can be really, really helpful. I also want to say I met with like my department or my college's person at the Academic Center for Excellence specifically, like to talk about ways to build in sort of ways to manage my stress and ways to kind of build that time in, which I don't know, maybe is like not sort of a clear thing to do, but they were really helpful with helping me kind of figure out how to build that in without being like, this is mandated fun time and then not enjoying it. But yeah, that's part of why having like the event sort of calendar is nice, is because it's like, I need to do something fun this week, and you can just kind of look at it and be like, that's what I'll do. So yeah, I think a lot of it too is making it easier on yourself to make those decisions and figure out what to do when you're kind of in it and don't know how to get out.
I think just probably to echo a lot of what folks have already shared, I like to do, I forget who was the sort of self-help person, but I think they're quoting, I think Faulkner, but this idea of eating the frog. So when it comes to doing my writing, especially, and my dissertation, dissertating is probably the most stressful situation in my life at the moment. And I'm so fortunate to be able to say that, right? That this is the most complex situation I think I'm dealing with right now. How fortunate to say, right? But I like to eat the frog, and that means doing the hardest task, or the task that feels the ickiest or the least liked in the moment. And by doing that, it's a mind shift, right? Dopamine, serotonin, right? You do the difficult thing, right? And once you're done with that, everything else feels a little easier to digest then, right? Because you've already ate the frog, the thing you didn't want to eat, right? So that's really helpful. And that's just a simple mindset shift throughout the day that really helps you get through, right? When things become tough. Also, like others said, being outside, we're like little plants. We need sunlight, right? We need vitamin D, we need nature. Even if for me, sometimes it's just 5-minute nature walk on my daily planner. And that means just stepping outside for 5 minutes, right? Not, necessarily exercising, not necessarily going to do anything, but just being outside, whether it's sunny, whether it's cloudy, whether it's raining, it gets really cold out here, and not being from here can be kind of difficult sometimes, especially with the polar vortexes that sort of ate us up a couple years back, right? But being intentional about just getting some fresh air can be very helpful. Now, I don't know if other folks have said this, I think my audio may be off. There's also the counseling services that are provided here. If folks can't afford any sort of therapy externally, there are other programs that are available to students here, and I've heard good things about them. And with some of my other roles that I've had on campus, we've collaborated with them when it comes to finding activities or spaces to manage stress, manage the difficulties of being a graduate student, because this process isn't really set up in a way for folks to live a very full and robust life outside of, academia, and you have to account for that. And also just going back, I wanted to, emphasize my positionality as a woman of color, as a Black woman. The curious thing about this experience is that we experience a lot of stress on top of the stress of academia, and where for other folks, for example, going into academia is supposed to give some sort of social mobility, and which is supposed to improve our life chances, improve our life expectancy. That is the opposite for Black women in academia, right? Our life chances decrease, right? We're more likely to die sooner. And that's a reality I have to live with. And so being a younger person who came into my program, I was really intentional about not letting academia get to me in that way. And so I'm always being mindful of the reasons, the whys that I'm here, and that academia is a means to an end. It's not the end for me. And I'm a whole human being outside of this experience, right? I came into this space because of my funds of knowledge, because of who I am, because of what I offer to the program, not the opposite way. And really positioning myself in my mind with that framing and that intentionality, and being affirmative of myself definitely helps in these spaces. So I encourage folks to, try to latch on to their sense of self-value and worth, right? Yeah.
Anybody else want to speak to managing stress?
I was going to mention just a couple of things. One, this is just more of an acknowledgement. I don't know that it's really a tip or anything, but there's many ways of handling and managing stress, whether it's related to academic life or other, things going on in your life. But I think it's, always important to give yourself some grace that, even when you're engaging in things that might not be considered healthy ways of managing stress, um, you managed it however you managed it. If you ate a big greasy cheeseburger and it made you feel better for a second and it made, that's okay. That there'll be other days when you can eat healthy and feel good about that. Um, and I say that as well because it got me thinking about any of the students, grad students here today that may be parents, that guilt is like an ever present type of monkey on your back, like it's never going to go away. You're always going to feel bad about the time you didn't spend with your kids. And it's a horrible thing to have to manage, to be honest with you, and it's not an easy life. But it gets easier, and especially if you share that with other people, then other folks can kind of feel like, okay, yeah, I feel heard, I feel seen. Like this sucks, like my kids are growing up and I don't spend time with them because I've chosen to do this in my life, and you feel guilty about that and selfish. And it's good to kind of recognize that feeling for what it is and then move forward and on from that feeling, because it's something that we often share as any parent who is a student also. And then the other thing, just about imposter syndrome, I think someone in the chat put in the chat about imposter syndrome. I like struggle with that so much, and a lot of people do struggle with imposter syndrome, or and I've heard from many, many accomplished women of color in academia that that never goes away. And I think it doesn't go away for whether you're a woman of color, a person of color, or not. I think it just doesn't go away. And for many people, and I heard something recently that made me feel a lot better about it. And it was, I'm not going to like be able to reiterate it in the way that I heard it because it was a lot of um, psychoeducational terms that I cannot reiterate right now. But basically, like the better you get at something, the more imposter syndrome you have to deal with because you realize how much you don't know. And so they kind of made me feel better because almost like the smarter we get and the more skilled we get and the more that we can kind of realize how much more there is, it's kind of, what happens. Like the less you think you know it all kind of, and you don't have to like you don't struggle with it as much because you actually, for some reason, think you know it all, but you really don't. But once you realize you don't know it all, it's when it's the struggle hits. So I guess there's kind of like I guess, silver lining on that, that it must mean that we're just we're realizing, excuse me, we're realizing how much more there is to know. And so it's only going to get worse. Just kidding. Like, I guess. But
Anybody else want to talk about stress? I want to mention that the link, I believe it was Ben who put the link to the counseling center in the chat. That link is there. And if I'm not mistaken, which I hope I'm not, the cultural centers, there is a program that places MSW students, I believe, people from the social work college in other locations. And I believe that the cultural centers are getting at least one social work intern this year who is there to talk to students who come into the to the cultural centers, needing that sort of support as well. So even outside of the official counseling center here at UIC, which is linked in the chat, there are other ways of getting student support in other locations on campus. All right, so if we are finished talking about stress for the moment, um, I have another question for everyone on the panel. Where do y'all start when you have questions, this is a huge campus, right? Multiple campuses, in fact. Three campuses, even in the city of Chicago. Um, where do you start when you have a question and you don't know who to ask?
Depends on the question. If it's about like my career stuff, usually like Beth, we have an advisor for bios, Beth Ann. She's amazing. She answers very quickly. Um, so if it's a question like, do I really need to take this class or something like that? And I'm like, how do I figure that out? Because it's not too clear. I don't know if this counts as this part of my requirements or this part, or maybe it counts for both. And so I'll ask Beth. She's very helpful. And everything else is probably Google. And then from there I go, I don't know. But PIs are very helpful. I think a lot of people that I know that have good relationships with their PIs, their supervisors, they actually talk to them about things outside of their project. Um, so there, yeah, I think usually you have a good support system around you.
I just want to follow up real quickly on what Rosa just said, because also someone's asking in the chat what Beth's email address is. Every program will have, and they have different titles in different programs, but every program will have like a program support person, right? I know in the College of Education, Elise Wilson is the person to go to if you have questions about anything in the College of Education, right? She is I'm not sure exactly what her title is, but she's an advisor for all of the PhD programs in the College of Education. Beth Brand is the person for bio. You're going to have different folks in different programs. You will get to know who, yes, program advisor, Ben says, program advisor, student affairs, program coordinator. Those are going to be people who can answer a lot of the questions that you have related to the specifics of your program. So I do want to sort of back up what Rosa said. Beth Brand is the person to go to in bio, but for other programs, you're going to have other people, and those folks are going to, in general, be real quick to answer your questions, know everything, and be super, super supportive. But I'm going to throw again out to y'all, the rest of y'all, where do you start when you have a question that you don't know who is the right person to ask?
I've also used Google. I've Googled like UIC, comma, ID question before or something, but trying to narrow down what the question is about helps. Like, oh, is this kind of billing related? Then maybe like UIC financial aid, and in pretty much any email where I have not been sure, and I have asked a lot of questions of people here and been very unsure that it was the right person. I've just said, "Hi, I'm looking for help with this. Is that you? If not, could you refer me to someone?" And people have been very gracious and helpful for more program specific or like professional or kind of floaty questions. Yeah, your program coordinators are the best people. If you aren't sure who they are or if it's like a good question for them, asking professors, if there's a professor you have a good rapport with, or your advisor or even someone and like a year above you in the program might have an answer. Asking your fellow cohort members can be really helpful, or people in your classes.
One thing I'll add to that is in the time that I've been a grad student, which I did my master's program at UIC as well, is becoming friendly or friends, if possible, with all of the administrative support staff in your department, including the IT folks. Like the IT folks save my life at least once a year. And so I'm so appreciative of them. I feel like they're so underappreciated, like they're just like in some broom closet somewhere and like they just do the most miraculous work all the time. And so they're just the best. And then just support staff, which I hope that's not, I don't know that that's what they're supposed to be called, the support staff, but they're the administrative folks that they know everything. They know, like, especially if you have questions like, about conference funding and the forms to fill out and what's supposed to go, you know, what kind of things, that you need to turn in order to get your conference money or whatever questions like that. They can be such a wonderful support and resource. So definitely. And I give them cookies at Christmas just because, or around the holidays, excuse me, just to the little bit that I can do because they are the best.
I don't
Anybody?
know if I have much to add, because I think that's all pretty much what I do. Something else that can be helpful too, if it's not like a super urgent question, is I'll just keep a document or like a piece of notebook paper where I just write down the questions kind of as I think of them. So if I have an opportunity to ask them, I can kind of have them all there and not have forgotten about it, because I didn't send an email. So it's like when you just maybe fall into a conversation with someone who, run into someone in a hallway and you can ask them questions. It can be nice to have those, or, when you're meeting with your advisor, your committee, it can be really helpful to just kind of have that list and maybe go down it and see if you can get, even if it's not sort of their area of expertise, like to get even just a little bit of advice. Sometimes I will just ask the next person I talk to, um, which I don't know, maybe isn't like the best strategy, but it tends to work out. Folks are always receptive when you are asking for help or asking for more information. Like what Eliza said, if you reach out, chances are someone will get you to where you need to go to ask the question. So yeah, I think writing them down has been really helpful for me a lot for when you have those opportunities. But yeah, just always reaching out, I think is the best sort of way to go about that.
Anybody else have tips for where to start? All right. Yeah, I highly recommend using that Google function. I think Ben put it where you can search within uic.edu. Or honestly, I like our UIC websites are huge and numerous and have a ton of information. And so just Googling whatever you're looking for and UIC will very frequently get you to the right place. I even, when I used to work in the library, would recommend rather than searching the libraries page, just Google UIC library and whatever it is you're looking for, because it's easier than searching around on our website to just sort of Google and figure out what department or what web page is going to have the information that you're looking for. We're going to shift gears a little bit. And I'm going to grab a question that I was in the chat, but I can't find the question because it's so far up that I am hopefully remembering it correctly. But someone had a question about the commute to UIC. So can y'all talk about your experience of the commute, how you get here, whether you use the train, whether you drive, whether you walk here, ride a bicycle, a scooter, and what that experience is like, and any tips for making your commute a little bit easier and happier on a daily basis.
I can start. I live in Rogers Park, which for those maybe not familiar is a neighborhood way up north. I think it's like the northmost neighborhood of the city. On a good CTA day, it takes me an hour and change to get to campus. I take the red line to the blue line or the red line to the 8 bus. I think being aware of when the CTA gets busiest, like if you're needing to be somewhere around the time of morning rush hour or evening rush hour, it's nice to factor that in. Depending on what, public transit you live by, if you're taking that, you'll figure out kind of the rhythms of that line through trial and error. I give myself like an hour and a half just so that if there is a CTA delay, as there sometimes are, especially when we get into winter, winter and stuff, things can get a little slower. Just that way I have an abundance of time in case something does happen.
Um, my commute usually, if there's some traffic, it's about an hour drive. If there's no traffic, it's about 40 minutes or so. And then well, I won't say that part. I added like my walking part as well because I park a little further. But if I take the CTA, usually it's about 2, 3 hours, depending. Sometimes the buses are so full because I live on the south side, so I live opposite from Eliza. I live almost the was it most south part of Chicago near Hegwish, which is like literally the end of Chicago. Um, so sometimes either on the way to UIC or on the way back from UIC, you'll have the bus that you're waiting for and it's completely packed, and then you have to wait for the next one. And there's been once where all three buses were full and I had to wait like a whole nother hour for the next one. So it really depends when. I know during Lollapalooza time last summer, I was like, no, please, I need to get my car fixed. Um, but I did mention in the chat that I'm moving closer to UIC, so it helps out with that. Pilsen is a nice area that's still kind of on the cheaper side than other areas near UIC. But yeah, I think you should take that into consideration when if you're moving to UIC or if you're planning to move when you start your PhD, whether you're okay with your commute, if it's a little cheaper, or if you want it to be closer, if you're willing to pay a little bit more. Depends on what you prefer.
I can go next. I actually live in Pilsen. I'm lucky enough to find a place here, because like I knew that being able to walk to campus or get there easily was really important for me. You know, public transit is not always the most accessible, and I definitely think my attendance or my performance in general would have been negatively impacted if I didn't. So that was just a priority for me when I was moving. I think too, I know folks who carpool with other people. I also think I'm the kind of person who gets really anxious and is constantly checking my transit apps to make sure I get somewhere on time, even when it is just really close. So I try to kind of build in work time. So I'll plan to get to campus a couple hours early and find a spot to kind of hole up in and just do some work there, which can be really helpful when like the unpredictability can get to you, or if you're like me and just need to get, you're either 10 minutes late or like 2 hours early with no in between. So I think kind of thinking about your schedule very consciously when thinking about things like commute or housing can be super helpful. I always too like knowing multiple ways to get to campus. Like I said, for me, I like that I can walk, I can take multiple bus routes to get there. So I sometimes feel better about knowing there's many ways I can, and sort of that kind of thing I think can be really helpful. But yeah, I like to build in time so I can get places early. So even if the commute is inaccessible or just isn't working for you that day, you're not constantly anxious rushing to get places, but also not kind of showing up whenever. So I would recommend yeah, just kind of consciously sort of building in that time for the commute and like its unpredictability, while also sort of thinking about what's accessible for you, what's a priority for you, I think can be really helpful with kind of dealing with that, especially with access issues.
Anybody else have commuting tips? Does anybody, I think Rosie, you said you drive, um, and you park far away. Does that mean that you don't park in a UIC lot? Do you have tips for how to find parking that might be cheaper or even free, as opposed to paying $400 a semester?
I want to talk about the prices for parking, but that's why I was like, oh, I shouldn't say that. But yes, so there's like this like soccer field area that's for St. Ignatius, the high school nearby. And usually on that street, it's free. You just have to be, I have gotten so many tickets from my first semester at UIC. So now I know exactly when and where you can park. So on one side, you can park from 7 to 9 on Mondays. And on the other side, you can park from 7 to 9 on Tuesdays because they do street cleaning. So make sure you read the signs. There's another area that's near like the Starbucks by the Maxwell parking lot. That's free parking as well. But also they do certain street cleaning areas, like times. So make sure you're reading those signs of when they're cleaning. Um, but even further down, there's more parking that's free. It's just that a lot of the times that they're usually taken up by like 7 a.m. because there's like I think there was a lot of construction workers because they were making that new like computer science building. Um, and they since they start work at 6, it's already filled up. They are already there. So during that time, when I'm not sure, I have to see the campus today. I'm gonna leave right now, but I'm not sure if they're still working. But usually I would try to get there before 6 so I could beat them and park there and then do my day. And then so then that walk, I have to like walk that, I think it's like parking lot 5. I walk across it and then have to go up. So I count that into my commute as well to make sure I'm not late if I have a meeting or things like that. So that's kind of what I mentioned right now, that I try to add at least another 10 minutes to just like get up to the building, go to my floor.
Anybody else have tips for the commute? All right. Um, quick question. For those of y'all who take the CTA, do you ever do like reading or, try to catch up on any kind of work on the CTA, or do you just use that commute time to relax and get ready for your day, or to stand on a really crowded bus and not be able to read something? Anybody read on the CTA?
I don't usually. I get motion sick sometimes if I try to read on the CTA, so I actually kind of use my like hour commute there back as one of the few times a day I'm not really doing anything. I'll listen to music or I'll listen to an audiobook and just kind of try to chill. And it's kind of a nice way to start and end the day.
So I actually do a mix of things, and I'm a Virgo, so I'm very strategic and categorical and checklisty. So I actually prep a lot of what I'm going to do on my commute. So sometimes it's listening to a podcast that'll meet the time, or a playlist. I'm a music head musician, so I like put together a playlist for the ride, whatever sort of vibe I want to go for, right? For the season or the day, or to pretend like I'm in some sort of indie film or something, right? Looking out the window. But I also sometimes spend time grading. So I teach at UIC. So sometimes if I'm leaving early enough and it feels calmer on the train, and if I have a seat, actually, right, because you don't always get seats, right, then I'll sometimes do some grading, or some prep for later in the week, right. Same teaching Tuesday and have, a Thursday session to come back for, so I'll prep for that along the way. And that helps, also compartmentalize, that goes back to that piece about creating sort of boundaries, right, between academia and your life outside of that. So if I'm doing something that feels within the net, right, the network of teaching or academia or research or dissertating, it's nice to sort of like nestle those together, right, and feel like, okay, I'm using this time specifically for that, and I blocked it in that way. There's also randomly, someone said something about getting motion sickness. There are actually accessibility features on our phones and devices that allow you to work around that. So I advise folks to look into those sort of things, right? Small changes that can help you along the way, especially when you need to get things done. What else do I do? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. I learned something I didn't even expect to learn about my phone today. So we're all learning awesome stuff. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that someone mentioned in the chat that it is important on the CTA to be aware of your surroundings, right? To not get so involved in whatever it is you're doing, listening to music, doing your reading, doing whatever, that you aren't aware of the fact that you are surrounded by other people. It can be a safety issue. So I do want to acknowledge that, and I appreciate someone sharing that information. So thank you for that, and thank you everybody for your tips. We've got just a few minutes left. So I want to ask one last question, which is maybe something that we have talked about a little bit already in talking about life on campus, and but we'll and who to ask when you don't know who to ask. But my last question is, what campus resources do you utilize most frequently, and why do you utilize those campus resources most frequently? So I'll throw that out to all of you.
I would say that I think a lot of I don't know if this counts as a resource, but a lot of like the opportunities for one-on-one, like advice or instruction can be really helpful. Working with obviously Lindsay, I feel like we've all been singing her praises, but working with her has been huge. Like I said, going to the Academic Center for Excellence, meeting with the librarians, things like that. I think it can be we can miss out on a lot of like the individualized sort of maybe skill building things. And so I find it really helpful to even just reiterate those, kind of to remind myself of what's available for me, what skills I might need to build or might need help with. I think so. Any opportunity you have to meet with someone one-on-one, especially if it involves like a skill or getting advice, I think can be really, really useful, and is something I always kind of regret not taking advantage of earlier on, is those kind of resources and like ways that you can build skills by meeting with other folks who, it's their job and they're all really, really, really great at it. So I would definitely say that's what I tend to utilize the most.
I yeah, definitely echo on graduate college just in general, and working with Lindsay has been amazing. And a lot of the events and talks and things going on through the graduate college are so helpful and nice. I would say I spend a good amount of time with the Institute for Humanities. They have a lot of really interesting events, and they have, fellowships and things, and they're a great group of people. Also, the library, which feels kind of silly to say, but something we definitely like, tell all of our students in the English department is like, oh, you use the library. The research librarians are there to help you. But then, like, I forget. They're amazing. They're so amazing, and there's so much happening in the library and so many different ways to get help with whatever you're working on. I use that a lot.
A quick question. Are we being recorded? We are. Okay. So nix that. Okay. So I will say, utilize your venture card as much as you can, right? Within the means outlined by the university, right? That helps you get around, right? Use the library for its virtual resources, not just necessarily in academic research, but there's things like Canopy, right? There's the Alexander Street Press if folks are interested in cinema, old cinema, or just watching things, watching plays. The Royal Shakespeare Company is on there, right? The National Theater live performances are on there. So just having things to watch, read, and listen to at your disposal, and that aren't necessarily provided in other spaces, right? You can't find some of these things on Spotify or YouTube, but you can find them there, right? Really important. And there are actually a couple of amenities through the library that I'm thinking digitally, and possibly also by going in, that I'm not able to articulate at the moment, but check in there, but start online at the library for sure, outside of just, your academic research.
There are a lot of cool resources and tools being provided there. Lindsay Marie Marshall, we've said her name, I'll say it again. Lindsay Marie Marshall, that is our girl. She does an amazing job. She really, really invests in her role and takes it seriously, and just so deeply giving in ways that I hope can only be echoed and learned from by other folks within the institution, right? So if you leave this, event and have nothing else to take away, I would say check in with Lindsay, right? When it comes to getting support around your research, right? And she also provides other, supports when it comes to writing and other things you may need to explore as a grad student. So I will never stop singing her praises in that way. Yeah, and if I think of anything else, I'll probably just drop it in the chat.
Anybody else have campus resources that they use often and the reasons why they use them that they would like to share in our last couple of minutes?
I want to talk about the UIC Wellness Center. They have events every Friday, usually unless there's like something about short staff or things like that, but they'll notify you. But oh my gosh, I have my book bag right here. Um, I go to them all the time, and they one time they did like a book bag charm day, and I made this for my book bag. One day they did like paint a rock, and it was like near Halloween time, but I don't celebrate Halloween. I more celebrate like Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. So I made mine with like a little flower crown, but with it was like little ball, like fluffy balls. And then I did like the little Day of the Dead face paint on my rock. Um, but they have so many things at they also, oh my gosh, they had a paint a pot. So they gave you a pot and you could paint it, and then they gave you like seeds for you to plant a plant. So the UIC Wellness Center is like the highlight of my week if things are just going left. I look forward to what the Wellness Center is going to do on Friday, and I'm like, okay, I'm going. And I have Neuro Journal Club on Fridays, 4 to 5, and I think the events are usually like 3 to 5 or some or 2 to 5. I don't know, something like that. So I try to go like 1 hour before I go to Journal Club, and that's my little break between all my meetings before, because we also have lab meetings on Fridays. So I do lab meetings, experiments, try to do that wellness center event, and then leave to Journal Club. So yeah, the wellness center is like the thing that makes me just smile the brightest on at the end of the week.
All right. If nobody else has any other tips, we are right on time for our noon finish. So I want to thank the panelists very much. Eliza, Corbin, Soshil, Rosa, Candice, thank you all very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise. Lindsay Marshall, you're going to be very, very busy, I think, since everybody dropped your name. But you were already busy. You're going to be even busier. But thank you all. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for the great resources you have been for our new students. Thank you for the great conversation. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. We are going to take another 15-minute stretch break right now before we come back and learn from a couple more panelists, or sorry, a couple more guests. Yeah, so folks, get some water, get some lunch, please. As folks have said, do not forget to eat. That is a big thing that happens with graduate students. Please don't forget to eat. So grab some lunch, grab a snack, pet a cat, take a dog outside, and we will see you in 15 minutes. All right. All right, folks, we're going to get started here again. Before I introduce our next guest, I just want to take a moment because something that folks have been asking in the chat that I have not yet covered is will the recording of this be available? And if so, where will it be available? So we are recording this session. It will be available. It's going to be held on Box, which folks have talked about before. Box is something that UIC gives us free access to, so we're going to store it on Box. There will be a link on the grad college's website. Excuse me, and you should also, as someone registered for the event, be receiving an email at some point in the next week that will point you toward the Box file with the recording of this event. But it'll take probably until early next week for everything to be ready and uploaded to Box, so keep an eye out for that. And you will be able to review all of this on Box and listen to all the great advice of everyone who has joined us here today. So we're gonna get started here again, and give me one moment to share my slides with y'all. Our next guest is from UIC Police. Cesar Canizales has come to join us today, and I'm going to turn it over to you. I do think you're on mute. I was wrong about Dave, but I think I'm right here.
Do you have a copy of our presentation, or am I sharing the one I have?
Please go ahead and share the one you have.
Got it. Okay. Okay, mind you, it's not my computer, so there we go. Can everybody see that? Yes, I hope so.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Cesar Canizales. I work with UIC Police Department. I'm part of one of the community policing officers here to talk to you guys about some of the safety resources that we have to keep you safe while you're here on campus and during your time here and surrounding community. First and foremost, we are a full-fledged police department, have the same jurisdictional powers as state troopers, county sheriffs, or local police officers, enforcing all federal laws, state laws, and any rules and regulations the university has on here. So we're trying to keep you safe and make sure that safety is not on the really back on your mind. You're here concentrating, doing what you're supposed to be doing, coming to school here, graduating, and having no type of safety incidents or concerns happen during the time that you're here. Talked about that already. While you're here around campus, we have these 8-foot blue posts. We have 1,500 of them on campus, and we have them also in elevators, and some of them are in certain office areas. They're in direct communication with the police department. You press that red button that's on there, a blue light will start flashing. You'll hear a dial tone. Brr, brr, someone will answer. UIC Police, what's your emergency? And you tell them what's going on. Hey, I think somebody's following me. I'm lost. Somebody on a bicycle just got hit by a car. People are fighting. My friend's having an asthma attack. Whatever that emergency is, you press that button. The new ones, like the one that's pictured on here, has a 4-way camera system on top, so we can see everything that's going around the area. The ones that don't have a camera system, we are still able to try and figure out where you might be at and get a view on there. We have a little bit over 2,000 cameras on campus, both indoors and outdoors, so we can see what's going around that area and get you assistance as quickly as possible for whatever emergency you might be going through. We have a group of students that wind up working with us. There are extra eyes and ears on campus. They're known as Student Patrol. They'll have red jackets or red shirts. They'll be walking around in pairs throughout the campus. Among many of the things that they wind up doing for the police department, one of them is providing walking escorts during the daytime and evening. You can call the non-emergency number 312-996-2830 and say, hey, I am at Student Center East. I'm at the Library of Health Sciences on the west side, and I need an escort to walk over to my parking assigned vehicle parking area, or I parked south of Roosevelt, or I'm walking to the pink line or the blue line. Can someone escort me? That walking escort's about a 4 or 5 block max distance. They'll show up in pairs and they'll walk you from point A to point B to make sure you're not walking by yourself. If for whatever reason you do not feel safe with student patrol that shows up, you can call back that non-emergency number and request for a police officer, and one of us will show up and provide that walking escort for you too as well. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, including holidays. During the daytime, there is a shuttle bus that goes around the entire campus, both south, east, and west campus. Usually their service is from 7 a.m. all the way to 11 p.m. At 10 p.m., another service starts to take place of that shuttle called UIC Night Ride. You must download the UIC Ride app to be able to use that, register through there, and use that app. So that service, think of it as Uber or Lyft strictly for the university. It'll pick you up and drop you anywhere within the parameters that they have set. Usually it's as far west as Western, as far east as Canal, as far north as Jackson, and as far south as 14th Street. So once you have that UIC Ride app downloaded, you fill out the information on there, and when you need it, you open up that app and say, hey, I am at the Library of Health Sciences, or I am at the College of Medicine, or I'm at Student Center East, wherever you may be at, and I need to go to my parked vehicle, or I need to wind up going to my off-campus apartment because you live somewhere on Taylor Street and Racine, or maybe on Oakley and Harrison, somewhere within the neighborhood. They will pick you up from that university building or grounds and drop you off over at your apartment, or bring you back on campus should you need that service. And again, it's within that area. When you download the UIC Ride app, it'll show you a map on there to see what the areas are of service. And because we do have a building over on downtown on Jackson State Street for UIC Law School, they will wind up picking up and dropping off people within a six block radius for that area too also as well. So you can wind up using that service over there if you're in law school. Safe app, it's an application that we provide for you guys free of service. Download it. It has a lot of great useful resources on there. One of them is that if there's something currently going on campus, a power outage, a gas leak, a fire, if there's an active shooter on campus, if there's power outage, severe weather, we will wind up sending those notifications through that app, telling you what's happening, what's going on, where to get more information, where to go to be safe, where not to go to. So it's a really good app that'll keep you safe and up to date with anything that's going around the campus. There's also a couple of extra features on there. So one of them is the access to the panic button. Earlier on, I spoke about the 8-foot blue posts that are around campus StarTels. You basically become your own portable StarTel. And what that does is when you press that panic button, we will be able to locate you using cell phone towers to triangulate your location within about 25 feet and call you, hey, you activated your panic button. Is everything okay? Oh, I activated by accident. I'm sorry. And when you set up your profile through this app, it'll ask you for a security or a password. We'll see it on our computer screen. We'll ask you, well, what's your password? You give us the correct password. We know that everything's safe, no problem. You give us the incorrect password, we know something's wrong, and we'll still send police officers to the location where it's showing us that you're at, and access any of the cameras within that area to see what's going on in your location. There's also virtual friend virtual walk and police virtual escort. Instead of actually someone showing up physically to be with you, to walk with you to whatever location you're going to around the campus or community, you can wind up using this service, open up that app, choose whichever one you want. It'll give you then a text option on there. You can text a classmate, a coworker, family member, significant other, or us, the police, anybody you trust, keep an eye on you. It'll send them a text message to that app. Hey, can you keep an eye on me? I'm leaving this building and I'm going to the parking lot, or I'm going to Costco, or I'm going to Taylor Street, one of the restaurants on there. Can you keep an eye on me? They say yes. It converts their phone into a Google map on their screen, and they'll see you in real time as you're walking across from point A to point B until you get to your location safely. Once you arrive there safely, you'll get a message on your app saying, hey, did you arrive safely? Is everything okay? You say yes. That person that's keeping an eye on you or the police department will get that notification that you arrived to your destination safely. It'll deactivate, and we won't be able to track you, or that person won't be able to track you anymore. So it's a good feature to wind up having if you don't want to wait around for a bus, night ride, or someone physically actually showing up there. So we can keep an eye on you and several people while you're here on campus. There's also a work alone feature on there. If you're ever here really late or early morning, or going to be here on a weekend, you pick out a building where you can study at, go to the library, or wherever you want to be at. and you figure out that it's kind of empty, a little bit safety concern stuff, you can open up the app, hit the work alone feature on there, and then fill out the information that's on there. You're going to be at the behavioral sciences building on the fourth floor in room 410C between the hours of noon till about 8 p.m. or you're going to be there from 8 p.m. till 2 o'clock in the morning studying or working on a project. You set up when an alarm goes off every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, every hour. Once it's set up, that alarm will activate however you set it up. You deactivate it, we know everything's okay, no problem, no concern. But if you fall asleep, if your phone does not get a signal or the charge goes out on it, or maybe you use the bathroom, you forgot your phone and the alarm's going off, we will wind up contacting you within 30 seconds of you not deactivating that alarm to check to make sure everything's okay. And we will also send a police officer to the location that you filled out where you're going to be studying or working alone according to that profile app you filled out to make sure everything's all right. If you do answer the phone, you give us your safe password, we verify it, we know everything's okay, no harm, no foul, and we will not send a police officer over there, or we will call them off if they've already been sent to that location. There's something called the Safe Exchange Zone we have on campus. If you buy anything on OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, or Craigslist, instead of telling that person, meet me in my apartment, meet me out on the street, maybe at a public parking lot or something, you can tell them to meet you at the police station. We're located at 943 West Maxwell. Give them that address. You're going to be in the front lobby, and there's where you want to buy or sell an iPhone, an iPad, a laptop. Maybe you want to purchase a electric scooter or a bicycle. You can do that there. The only thing that we ask is no exchanges involving weapons, drugs, alcohol, or ammunition. We will monitor the area, but we will not monitor it to be all up on your business. You just wind up telling us you're going to use a safe exchange zone because you're selling or buying something. We've had people come in there, sell puppies. We've had divorced parents do their custody exchange over the weekend, dropping off their child there in the lobby so the other parent can wind up picking them up. This way they don't have no interaction with each other. And I didn't know it was a big thing, but Hello Kitty is obviously very popular. So whatever it is that you're selling, whatever it is you're trying to wind up putting up through there, you can wind up selling that through there and be in a safe location. Once you're there, if you sold or bought something, you can then wind up requesting for an escort. Hey, I parked my car outside on the street, or I parked it out in your parking lot, or maybe I live in the dorms. Can I get an escort? Can you guys wind up picking me up or whatever? We'll be able to wind up providing that for you to make sure you're safe after that transaction happens. Anybody that's going to be riding a bicycle, please use a good high quality lock. We have a lot of bicycles that get stolen on campus because some people wind up spending $200, $300, $400 on a bicycle and only spend $20 on a lock. Doesn't make sense. I've seen people use cable locks where they think it's rather thick, and with wire cutters or even nail clippers, they cut through them in about 17 seconds. So please make sure you secure it well, secure it to the frame, wear a helmet while riding a bicycle around the city and on campus, and make sure you have a bright white light and red light visible up to 500 feet in the city of Chicago. City of Chicago can't pull you over and issue you a citation if you don't have that. You can wind up registering your bicycle, your electric scooter, or electric skateboard at go.uic.edu bike registration. We'll show you where to wind up finding serial numbers on there so you can register it. So in case it comes up lost, stolen, or missing, we can be able to identify it. Like the scooters that are there on that picture, they might be different, but they're pretty much the same manufacturer. They look exactly alike. So if you put some stickers on the stem going downward or anywhere else that's visible, something that stands out, whether it's UIC stickers, City of Chicago stickers, cat stickers, dog stickers, whatever it is you want on there, something that helps easily identify it. So if we see it out on the street, we can be able to wind up stopping them, question them, and possibly check the serial number if you registered it through us to make sure it is yours and return back your property. When school starts, because there's so many of them that are secured poorly or not secured at all very well, we average out about one bicycle, one electric bike, or one electric scooter stolen per day because they're so poorly secured. So please wind up registering that if that is your mode of transportation. So this way prevents your mode of transportation from being stolen. Personal safety. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure your head is on a swivel when you're walking around the campus. When you're here within the community, you're traveling here, try to identify the safest route to get here. Practice maybe coming here in the morning and maybe coming back here and then leaving in the evening, nighttime, to see how transportation, how much foot traffic there is in the area. Don't take any shortcuts, and please, please, please limit your use of these little guys here. Those that are taking public transportation on the CTA, the bus and the train, they get a lot of video and notifications from the CTA for crimes that occurred on the CTA, mostly thefts. So it's usually someone that's on there either online doing whatever it is, or they're distracted because they're out there taking selfies, whatever it is. Someone's keeping an eye on you. Doors open, doors close, people get on, people get off, and then at the last possible minute, someone snatches it away from you and they're gone. So whenever that train stops, that bus stops, before those doors open, put your device down, hold it with both hands, look around, see who got on, see who got off. Once the doors close, that bus starts moving or that train starts moving, then you can go ahead and continue doing what it is you were doing. Make sure if you have anything that is highly valuable for you, don't leave it alone, lock it someplace you can. If you have laptops, cell phones, tablets, iPads, anything of value that's electronic, try and download some type of free trackable software. There's plenty of them out there that you can wind up seeing and testing it out before you come here. So make sure it works. So this way, if your laptop or bag sprouts legs and gets away from you, you'll be able to look to see where it's at through that tracking device that you downloaded on there. If it's a bag or something else that you have that has valuable items in there, get an Apple AirTag or something that you can be able to hide inside that bag or backpack. So this way you can be able to wind up tracking it to see where it's at. There are a lot of scams that you can get asking you about money. Don't fall for them. Text or emails stating that you forgot to file a certain form, fill out an application with the university, and because of that, there goes a grant, there goes some scholarship, there goes your place that they have for classes or something like that. Don't click on anything. Don't wind up responding to a text message. Get out of those emails or texts that you got, and wind up contacting the school that you are going to verify and make sure that it is something that officially from them. They can verify through that college to see if everything's up to date, everything's been paid for, you're all good. Watch out for those scams where people are trying to scare you into anything and trying to send them money right away. Be careful with that, okay? Usually we have about three or four students that sometimes fall for that scam throughout the year. And usually on the low end, it's $3,000 they lose to maybe $7,000. We have had an employee here lose their life savings of about $100,000 for a scam that they got. Scams out there are very, very good. Just don't be too scared too much that someone's asking you for money right away and they're trying to make it into a big priority. Take your time, slow down, take a breather, verify with the school that you're going to make sure everything's okay. So this way you don't wind up losing any money. Contact us. We can wind up helping you out too, or the dean of students or the college that you're at. There are resources on campus here that keep you safe. Confidential ones are Campus Advocacy Network, known as CAN, Student Legal Service, and the Counseling Center. Meaning if you reach out to them and tell them you have a problem, you have an issue, there was a certain situation that you were involved, or maybe there's a problem with another student or something, it stays between you and them and it goes nowhere unless you give them authorization to reach out to other resources that can be helpful for you. Dean of Students, In Touch Hotline, Title IX Coordinator, or the Police Department. We are not confidential resources, so we have to wind up investigating, filing a report, work together with the Dean of Students or Title IX to try and help you out and assist you as best as possible for whatever situation you might need assistance for. There is a website called reportaconcern.uic.edu. You can go on there and there's plenty of examples and tabs out there that you can wind up choosing to see if you want to report something anonymously or just report something saying there's an issue with a student's housing, their behavior in a classroom. Maybe it's a TA that's off topic in the class and you don't think it's correct, or any other thing, general injury, incident, safety concern, whatever it might be. You can go on there, click it on there, and you can report it through that portal, or you can wind up reporting it anonymously just to wind up getting some assistance or help through there. We do have a therapy dog program. Our officer is Officer Ham. He's been with us going on 2 years. We know that school can be very stressful for you, away from home, the pressures of school, maybe away from your pets and family, out of state, out of country. You will see Ham around at different events on campus. You can scan that QR code that's on the screen to get more information. If your school needs them, your class needs them, something that's going on, feel free to contact us, invite us over to your college, to your building where you may be at. If you think you need a little bit of de-stress time, come over, see us at either the police station or at Student Center East, where we're normally at with him throughout the semester, or if not, invite us to some event that you might have if you want us to, and we'll stop by. If it's before finals, before midterms or something like that, you can contact us so we can give you a visit over there so you can spend some time with him. He's a great dog, loves people on campus, and loves attention, especially belly rubs. Last but not least, our contact information. If you need anything, contact us 312-355-5555. We're located at 943 West Maxwell Street, which is just south of Roosevelt on Morgan on the east side of campus, just south of the UIC soccer fields. That's where we're located at. You can contact our unit at UICPD PACE at uic.edu. If you have any questions, any concerns, reach out to us. Something happens throughout the semester, feel free to contact us. If you're in the area or on campus and there's an emergency, call our emergency number. Don't call 911 first, because sometimes they're very busy in 12th district, which is the district where the university resides at for CPD. Your call might take a couple of minutes before they actually put it out or respond. Usually if you call us, usually we respond within under a minute. We always have officers on both sides of the campus 24 hours a day. So we always are available to respond to those calls as quickly as possible. And if you have any questions, any concerns, I will be up later on at the resource event that's set up later on today, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And yes, we do have folks did post some questions in the chat, but we have another group that is joining us next. So I do want to. Someone posted a question very early in the day that I do want to throw out to you, just so that we have everyone have an opportunity to hear the answer to it. Someone was asking about the procedures if ICE comes to campus, and so I'm wondering if you can speak to what folks should do if ICE comes to UIC campus.
Yes, if ICE comes to campus, there's a lot of departments and staff that have already been advised on what they should do. First and foremost, contact us right away. We will wind up meeting those agents on campus. Hopefully they still stay outside of the building. They have to wind up showing a warrant specifically for a certain person. They can't just come through the campus. The university with the dean of students has also set up a way. We have some cards and documentation that we wind up giving through there. We wind up going through what it is that they're going. If they do have an actual warrant, they have to have an actual warrant for a certain individual they're looking for. They can't just come on campus and do a blanket search and stop everybody up through there. That's not how that works on our property. Contact us right away. If they have a warrant that specifically states the name of a person that they're looking for, and they know where that person is at, we wind up showing up, and we wind up making notifications to our supervisors and the university and let them know that they're here on campus, that who they're looking for specifically, and they know that information. And we are not going to escort them or anything, but we are going to wind up keeping an eye on them to make sure that they do go to that specific building, that they do go for that specific person that they're looking for, and they're not just randomly out there trying to stop people or students or staff trying to ask if they are here legally or not. They can't do that. If you have any more questions on that, I can answer them over at the resource fair, but we'll wind up documenting their visit here, and we do have our body cameras, so we can wind up recording everything that's going on there. If they do wind up arriving, since this whole new administration took place, there has only been one time that they came here on campus and they were looking for someone specifically. And when we looked them up in the system, that person had already been dismissed from the university, so they were no longer here on campus. So they just got in their vehicles and left. Didn't even enter the university property at all whatsoever. So if there's any concerns like that, reach out to us, contact us, and we'll help you out as best as possible for that.
Thank you very much. All right. So you will be at the resource fair. So if folks have more questions, that's an opportunity to ask those questions. I'm going to now move on to our next and our final guest for today. We have, give me one moment to share my screen. All right. We have folks from the Graduate Employees Organization, or the GEO. The GEO is the labor union that represents graduate student workers here at UIC, and they are here to tell you a bit about what they do. And so I'm just going to stop sharing and turn this over to y'all.
Hi. Hi. Are we able to share our screen? We have a presentation.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'd also like to ask if you are an administrator or have any management control over your TAs, GAs, RAs, that you at least take a break from the call, just so that members can feel the most confident, asking us questions or even just interacting with us via Zoom.
Just start.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'll be starting out the presentation first. So my name is Ian Stout, and you just heard from Michaela. I am the current grievance chair for UIC's GEO, the Graduate Employees Organization here on campus, and Michaela is one of our co-presidents. We do a lot of really cool things on campus. Really excited to be here with you all. I cannot see the chat right now. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We'll get into answering them at the end of the presentation. So why do we need a union here? Basically, our basic survival is at stake. We are living in 2025 right now, and the geopolitical climate might seem like it's scary now, but it's honestly been scary forever, especially for graduate workers. So our wages are far below the cost of living for Chicagoland in general. An MIT analysis that was done for a single adult living in Chicago, we should be making a minimum wage of about $50,000 and 790 cents there. We are making, I think, less than half. I know I'm making less than half of that. We have limited health benefits as well. Campus care essentially is not healthcare. If you have pre-existing health conditions and you're able to stay on your parents' insurance, I would recommend doing so. It is not accessible for folks. We also have some unsafe working conditions as well. Some departments have lack of COVID protections, and there is blatant harassment and bullying in many different departments. As grievance chair, I am here to support you all when harassment and bullying happens. So if you see bullying happen, let me know. I'll put my contact info in the chat too. Um, and why is this happening? UIC really depends on devaluing our labor, right? We are the backbone of this institution. We are the beating heart of this institution. We are what makes it a Research One institution and a globally renowned institution. However, they will constantly devalue our labor. How do they do this? Through division and hierarchy. Research assistants used to be excluded from the union just until recently. Now, in our new contract that we're bargaining for, research assistants will be added to it. Graduate worker pay also ranges widely across departments. You could see in some departments somewhere as low as 22,000 upwards to 38 and 40,000. Also, departments set policy on compensation, class size, percentage of appointment standards, and much more. So there's a lot of variety and diversity in a not a good sense in regards to this. We want to make sure that we have clear operating procedures moving forward for uplifting and supporting our community as graduate workers. So what do we do? GEO kind of has three main functions right now on campus. The first one is contract bargaining, right? So we do have a contract bargaining team. We actually meet every Monday at 5 p.m. on Zoom. I'd love to see some of y'all there. It's going to be fun. What we do there is we come up with protections for international workers. We talk about minimum wages and raises, especially in our contract language, workload, hours, and class sizes, evaluations and discipline, as well as benefits, leaves, and holidays. Your PIs and your faculty members might not tell you this, but you do get sick pay and leave. It's really nice. We are actually one of the most robust as far as college unions go in terms of parental leave. We'll get to that later. And then we also talk about workload and hours because sometimes they add up. Next is grievances. So this is kind of what I handle as grievance chair. For lack of better terms, I'm basically a lawyer without the pay or the degree. We represent employees in disputes with management, enforcing our contract and ensuring that dues are processed. So we enforce our contract when there may or may not be a contract violation. You might be like, oh, maybe I'm working over 20 hours and I'm supposed to be working 20 hours, or I feel like I'm being discriminated against. This is where then you come in contact with me as a grievance chair and the grievance committee to kind of figure things out. And then organizing, which is on its own slide because this is really the main function of this union. Organizing means building collective power to solve issues through direct action, right? I kind of see organizing and sustainable unions as a way of just building relationships, right? And I want to say it's like we work with the good unions, not like a cop. We're not a cop union. We're good people. Where we're building relationships with our coworkers to discuss issues, goals, and how to motivate others to care. We need to build up these communities of care because at the end of the day, we are all that we have together, and that's why we need this community, especially now during a bargaining year. We do this by deploying many tactics, such as writing and circulating petitions, political education, organizing department meetings, staging large group visits to sort of target actions, and then also more. So, for example, the Office of International Services really doesn't provide much emphasis and help to international workers, and their role was very ambiguous to us from the union. We staged a walk-in to their office, asking them questions of what will they do if ICE comes on campus, and how will they actually support international workers? And we were able to get some further actions from that. The goal of organizing, again, is to build lasting structures of collective power down to the department level, right? So while you are all coming here on your first year, it's not gonna end here, especially once you graduate. We're going to want to be stewards to allow this union to be sustainable, to continue to grow, and to continue to show the university that we're not playing around and that we do deserve rights and benefits. So about this, a little bit about it is membership, right? So GEO is member run. This is actually a big precedent, usually during bargaining years. Historically, we've always had at least one staff member to help us out. Right now, we're just run by people who are just like you. I'm currently entering my second year as a master's in anthropology. Michaela's entering her second year as a master's in a PhD, master's in physics. So we're all graduate students too, kind of struggling. All union events are planned and put on by members just like you. We, again, have steering committee roles, but we don't necessarily see it as a top down. We go and ask you all sort of workshop floor style what you'd want to see, any suggestions you have, and then we input that and organize it. Members pay dues. These are 2.2% that's automatically deducted from each payroll a month. It should look anywhere from $30 to $40. For some of you, that might seem a lot. For others of you, that might seem doable. I would recommend it because it is really beneficial. And I would say after your first paycheck, let me know if the dues is a lot more because the university has not been good with actually putting out processing dues. But this pays for office space and supplies, printing, legal defense of members, event materials, importantly, also our strike fund and more, which will be important for this year. And then the budget's also presented at a general membership meeting and upon request. You can be as involved as you want. I would say, honestly, like bottom tier would be signing a card to be a member. That is really good support. Why is that good support? The more signed cards members we have, the more the university realizes that not only we, as your representatives, want to fight for your right and your safety on this campus, but you also want to fight for that. Other than that, attending membership meetings, which happen about 1 to 2 times a semester, is good. Attending virtual bargaining sessions, again, Mondays at 5 p.m. Participating in actions that are supporting bargaining or issue campaigns, similar to when we did the walk-in at the Office of International Services. Joining a committee or becoming a department steward. Department stewards are kind of like mini versions of me in your department. You get to make the friends and the coalition building within your department, and you get to sort of liaison that back to union spaces. And I also have a grievance committee if anybody's interested in that. And then you can also become a leader in the union. My first semester on campus last year, I really wasn't that much a part of GEO spaces. My second semester, I got more involved within the organizing committee, and now I run a committee. So it is possible. So, what are your rights as a GEO member, right? little contract overview for you. You guys do get sick days and leave. You have 5 sick days per semester and up to 6 weeks of parental leave, as well as 1 personal day per semester. For parking, we get the lowest parking rate throughout the entire university system. I don't have the number full set on that, but if you're looking at the parking rate on their website and you see that it's taken out on yours and it looks about the same, feel free to contact me. Healthcare, we have health service fee covers. So the service fees are covered from the Family Medicine Center, Counseling Center, Wellness Center, and pharmacy services as well. And then you also get free vision and dental. This is mind blowing, especially for me, because I need to go see a dentist ASAP. So use it while you can. Campus care, unless you opt out, is only $280 per semester. This was from 2024 to 25, and it's just going to be renewed that same amount until we sign a new contract, which is a really good price, especially considering how much others have to pay for campus care. For evaluation and discipline, all evaluation processes must be clear in advance, and we have a right to object to the evaluation outcome. If you feel you are getting discriminated against, or your PI has created this narrative against you in your department and it's not true, we can reject that evaluation outcome, and we can sort of file a grievance and formulate something with this. Also, Weingarten rights. You have a constitutional right to union representation if a meeting is heading towards discipline. If you're feeling uncomfortable or unsafe in your department and you would like union representation there, I'm going to type my number in the chat here. Give me a call, give me a text, let me know when it is. I'm going to try my best to make those meetings. And if not me, I will find someone within GEO Spaces who's able to be there for you. Workload, all trainings are paid. You're welcome. Your appointment level is based on how many hours it should take to perform all job responsibilities. You can object to a workload as well that exceeds the hours covered in your appointment. There was actually specifically a department in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences that gave the graduate workers the same amount of workload with half the pay as they've been getting previous years. So we are filing a workload objection against them, as well as many other legal objections as well. There's also more. You can read the full contract there. It is expired by now, but again, because of union rights, the contract will still be in play while we're negotiating the new one, so no worries about that. Some bargaining demands that we have. I'm just gonna breeze through the top 4 that we've got right now. So top one, livable wage, right? We're asking for $51,000 a year within our new contract. We think that as the backbone of this institution, we deserve to get the pay that we need, especially to survive and thrive in Chicago. I'm really excited about that because that means I can probably get ramen on the weekends and actually enjoy my life as a grad student, which is really nice. Healthcare. We want something better than just campus care. Again, it works for many, not all people. It's really not the best. We also want job security. We think that it's atrocious that students, especially international students, can get 9-month contracts and then have precarity for the following 3 months, especially on F1 visas. When you have a limited amount of hours you can work, it's rough. We want to put 12-month contracts on there. We want protections for international workers. We're basically asking the university to not have ICE on campus or to let us as GEO know if ICE is on campus because it shouldn't really be that hard to not cooperate with ICE, as well as more, including academic protections.
Awesome. Okay, so we have like 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna try my best to take it home. I also see that there are a couple of questions, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna save them till the end. Um, but okay, so here's really the tea about the union, right? We want a lot of things. We're asking for a lot more money. We're asking for a lot more protections. And the way that the union or the relationship that the union and us as workers have with the university is that they are going to pay us the least. They're going to exploit us the most, right? Unless we are able to stand together as a unit to stand up for the things that we deserve, right? So in particular, the university really will rely on internal divisions within our bargaining unit, which I see some questions. Currently, we cover people who are hired as teaching assistants, research assistants, and graduate assistants. We're trying to figure out how to cover more people, but that's what our contract covers at this current moment, right? So those are the only people who can join the union. But we're different people, right? We're a diverse population, based on race, based on class, based on immigration status. And something that has already come up in these conversations about ICE, right, is the fact that international students are just more vulnerable than a lot of us right now, right? But a way that we can protect all workers, is making sure that we have a contract that unites us in what is common, right? And our commonality between all of us is that we are working for the university and we are building wealth for the university through our labor, right? So if you are interested, in trying to think more about how we protect international workers in particular, we have an international working group. And if you're interested in joining, I would love to hear from you via that email included in this slide, right? And the union is the best tool, right? So if you are seeing something that is happening in your workplace or based to your identity group that you think is not covered in the current contract, reach out to us, join a committee, and have your voice be heard, because we will win the best contract when the most voices are heard. Political rights. So the union it's a political body, right? We protect you from retaliation and engaging in political activity on campus. You cannot experience any retaliation based on your political beliefs. That is another thing that the union protects you from. And you can't be bullied for your political activity, right? You have a right to organize and gather with your coworkers here on UIC property, and that is something that's protected by the Illinois Education Labor Rights Board. So that's non-negotiable, regardless of what your PI say. So why should you join the union? I think we gave a lot of good reasons for you to join the union, if I'm being honest with you. But if you would like it more succinctly, right, by joining the union, you are taking control of your workplace, which you deserve, because you are the one who's making the workplace happen. And the more grad workers that we have join, the more grad workers that we have to sign cards, means that we have the means to demand the power, right? And we need a mass movement to get the things that we want. And the best way for you to support that movement is to join the union. We're currently in the middle of bargaining with the university, so that makes it even more important for you to join this year. And when we fight together, we win together. So if you would like to have a voice, if you would like to have a change, or to make a change rather, and be part of this collective that Ian was referring to, keep in mind that we have strength in numbers. So what can you do now? I am going to actually skip this slide for the sake of time, but it's here in the recording, so please come back and take a look at it. But you can join the union. So you can scan this digital membership card, or you could go to this link, which you can actually click the slide on Zoom to join. And I'm going to try and run through these questions really quickly. Is there a deadline to join? No, there isn't. You can join at any point in the year. Can you expand your thoughts about campus care? We are going to fight for more expansive healthcare. We don't think that it's sufficient. So in our bargaining campaign, we're going to ask for more. If you aren't a TA, can you still join? It says you can't click the link in Zoom. That's so fair. Okay, if you want a TA, so TAs, teaching assistants, research assistants, and graduate assistants are eligible to join. We don't represent grad hourlies, unfortunately, but I will say that our contract sort of sets the precedent for the treatment of people who are not in those three groups that I just outlined. How close is a tentative agreement? We are far from a tentative agreement. How likely is a strike? I'm not at liberty to answer that question. What are the latest updates on contract negotiations? If you go to our website, uicgo.org, that's where you can sign a membership card. That's also where we post our bargaining updates. Non-university employees, how can you help? Come to meetings, come talk to members, and we're trying to figure out some more solidaristic actions. Thank you, Jordan. That's an excellent question, Kirby. And if you would like to, I'm going to throw my email right here in the chat.
Oh, I need to throw my contact
Yeah.
stuff in as well. So
we are wrapping up to the powers that be. But this is a lot of information. So this is my email. I am one of the co-presidents of GEO, so I'm happy to speak to anyone.
you have to be a full-time graduate student to join. As long as you are an RA, TA, or GA within an appointment that is allotted over 16% FTE and below 67% FTE, you're able to join. I'm going to put in the chat right now my email and then also my phone number. If y'all have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach me out. Or if you just have more questions about the union, more than happy to help out.
Yeah. And to the folks saying that those links don't work, I would say go to uicgeo.org.
Yeah.
And y'all will be back in the virtual resource fair. Is that correct?
Yes, it won't be us necessarily, but there will be.
Excellent. So you could do things or ask your fellow GEO folks to do things like drop those links in the chat. In the resource fair, someone asked about the Discord link for the GEO a little bit higher in the chat. So if someone wants to add that to the chat in the resource fair, then hopefully folks can get that information so they can access all of that.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you to the GEO. Thank you to everyone who joined us here today. We appreciate you being here. I had a closing Padlet that I was hoping to use, but we are officially out of time. So I want to give you the half hour that you deserve between this event and the virtual resource fair, which I very much hope you will come join us for in half an hour at 1:30. My colleague Shannon is going to put up a slide very soon that will have a QR code through which you can access the virtual resource fair. He is also going to put a link in the chat, I believe, that will take you to the virtual resource fair. Again, that Zoom meeting will not be open until 1:30, so you have half an hour. And I just want to, again, thank you all for being here today. We are very much looking forward to meeting you all in person at our picnic on September 10th. Folks talked about that earlier in the day, and we're excited to be working with you in the time that you're here at UIC. Please, again, take a break before we come back at 1:30 for the virtual resource fair. And again, we've got a link in the chat from Shannon, and he's going to put up a slide very soon that has a QR code. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you again with even more resources in about half an hour.